future for Alberta, where we fix healthcare, lower household costs, and create jobs. This election is about trust, and it's about leadership. You know you can't trust Danielle Smith, so my offer to you is this. I will work every day to be the premier you deserve, creating jobs and diversifying for the future. I won't raise your taxes. I will cap your bills. I won't fund a war room. I will fund an emergency room. And I won't ever make you pay to see a doctor. I'll protect our healthcare, protect our mountains, and protect your pension. And having learned today that Danielle Smith broke the law, I will also protect our law, and I will never break it. When I say something, I mean it, and that's the difference between Danielle and me.
Ms. Notley, thank you for your opening remarks. Well, affordability, rising interest rates, and inflation have been top.
Oh, no.
Scroll back up.
I will fix it. There we go.
Okay. Sorry, there was some delay setting up tonight. We did bad coordination on parts.
We're moving today.
We're moving, well, tomorrow. But we put the computer away, so we were delayed tonight. But we are going to unpause now as the debate is starting, so we can actually witness the debate.
Some Albertans.
Howdy,
what will you do to support all Albertans with the rising cost of living as inflation continues to have a real impact?
Thank you so much, Rocco.
One of the first things that we knew we needed to do was address the inflation crisis created, let's be fair, by the Liberal NDP coalition in Ottawa, spending too much money, driving up the cost of everything. And there's only so much we can do here. So we gave $600 affordability payments. We gave a rebate on fuel taxes to offset the federal carbon tax. And we also made sure that we were going to put on electricity rebates so that people paid less on their power.
I'm just going to kill the audio a little bit on the debate. Let me know if it gets too quiet. It was just loud.
That was loud. We're learning. Oh, thank you so much, Hacksource.
So the context of the debate is the election started off normally, and then last week was pretty bad for the UCP. They finally dug up comments that actually hurt Smith. So going into this debate here is pretty big. Like, this could be make or break for the election. And it's just the two of them. So it's a full-on head-to-head.
All right. And I know that you are a big Smith fan, perhaps your biggest fan.
Potentially.
There's not a day that goes by that I don't hear about Danielle Smith. So
I mean, this is their current election, so...
Would it be fair to say that she is your Pierre?
No.
Because, you know, the meme about, you know, my Pierre, I just love him so much. And you just love Danielle.
This is going to be cringe, but no one's better than you.
Aw. Not cap your bill. NTP. All right.
So there's a couple things Notley really needs to do here. Or not Notley, sorry. Smith needs to do here tonight. She needs to look polished and organized here. Because if she can give a good impression on voters, any of the attacks going on about who she is and what she is going to lose all their merit. Those attacks only work if people perceive her as too extreme. If she just looks like a normal person, she'll probably win the debate and the election.
Healthcare costs. So, I'm the normie in their group. This is the moderator. Where the heck is Notley?
That is Notley.
Where's the moderator? Are they asking each other questions?
I guess. I didn't really look up what the debate format was. I didn't have a lot of time today.
Is it just me, or do they look like the same woman with different colored hair? Oh.
Maybe. I can see where you're coming from.
Wow, they've really gotten rid of all the Rona restrictions, haven't they? Like, they're not putting people far apart anymore.
Good, because that was cringe and weak.
Is this... So she's asking what sounded like a pretty dishonest question about healthcare here. But she opened it with, "Why won't you be honest with Albertans?" And I didn't actually catch a question in there. I don't know what this.
It was one of those questions like, when did you stop hitting your wife kind of question.
Yeah, I don't know what the context is here. What has she proposed for Alberta healthcare?
So Smith had made a comment in the past where effectively she wanted the French healthcare system. So she wanted private management of hospitals, but everything would be publicly funded. So if you go to the hospital to get a necessary procedure, you're going to be paid, like it's going to be covered. You're not paying out of pocket for any necessary procedure, which is how France works. But all the hospitals are privately managed.
Okay.
Most through charities.
Okay. Imagine paying to use the emergency room.
Now, one thing I will say, Notley is keeping this in the court she wants to be on right now. She wants to talk about healthcare. It's the only issue she's trusted on over Smith that actually matters. Like, there's a couple other issues people like the NDP on more, but healthcare is the only one that actually people care about. That makes sense.
Oh, they're trying to cap utility bills. Okay.
What? I think she misspoke there, because I don't think it's going to cost people $200 million each.
Oh, man. Oh, no, man. My bill came in as $200 million. How many seats will you give them, will you give to the NDP after tonight and as well for the UCP if the NDP wins on the 29th? What? How many seats? If the NDP wins on the 29th, how will you seats? Sorry, I've been moving all day and I'm a little bit stupid right now. How many seats? I think Jared's asking about the seat distribution that you're estimating right now.
Right now, I have it on my Twitter, which I can't pull up right here, but we are looking at 39 at the start of the debate today. If Smith wins, I think she'll gain a bunch of ground. If she loses, obviously she'll lose ground. Though realistically, I think the NDP's cap is about 46 seats.
And besides this debate, do you think the... Oh, this is an unrelated question. I think president electoral votes should copy the states for their governorship elections, because look at almost all the states and their counties are more Republican.
I've not been looking at the U.S. much recently, so I'm not going to comment on that. I just don't have the
He has
details.
only eyes for Alberta right now.
Yeah. It's the most important election in Canada probably this year.
Oh my gosh. Very interesting to dig in your heels on the renewable energy thing in Alberta.
The funny thing about this is my understanding is most of the venture capital for renewable energy is things like manufacturing and mining. Mining is basically impossible to do in Canada because of federal regulations. And manufacturing is not going to be in Alberta. Alberta is a terrible place for manufacturing to occur. It's nowhere near any major rivers. It doesn't have any rail lines. You're not going to get manufacturing there.
So, okay, I was just going to say, for a debate, Smith hasn't talked yet, but here we are.
But you notice that she didn't disavow the 2035 target for net zero, even though...
Oh, okay, I like this. I like the right calling for disavowals. Yes, fight dirty. Fight dirty, Smith. I like this.
We have to fight back against Ottawa. This candidate...
Yeah,
Yes, disavow net zero.
2035 net zero would be pretty terrible for Alberta, considering the oil industry is the blood of Alberta.
How can we alienate everybody? Everybody. Not a fan of the NDP, but I think the long hair for Notley looks better than the short hair she had a few years ago. I'm not familiar with Notley's previous hairstyles, but she does look pretty nice. She will always stand up for Alberta, except for its main economic driver.
Yeah. No, we throw that under the bus.
Mm-hmm. God, I love Jeb. I just love looking at him. If we ever have a corkboard, if we end up with a corkboard in our new place, I want to put Jeb on the corner.
Jared, right now the UCP by my numbers is holding Calgary elbow, but I believe is slightly behind in North.
One last word to Smith on this topic.
Well, Ms. Notley didn't stand up when Justin Trudeau canceled Northern Gateway. She didn't stand up when Energy East pulled the plug. She didn't stand up when they brought in a
Yes.
ban off the West
Based.
Coast for our product. And
Yeah, this is the thing that Smith needs to do, really hit Notley on her record, because her premiership is objectively bad. Like, there's no spin you can put on it. Was it all her fault? I can't say. But there's no positive spin you can put on the 2015 to 2019 period in Alberta. It was only bad. Budget or debt exploded, incomes fell, investment fled, GDP recessed.
And like it sounds like memes, but like legit, I really want the right to take advantage of these like kind of lefty tactics of just attacking people on their record and maybe being less than completely fair, because I think that if they're gonna fight dirty, we need to fight dirty too.
This is a weird pause.
Quote from Lex, I love looking at Jeb. Are you okay, Chris, before marrying?
I'm more powerful than Jeb. Jeb is low energy, didn't you hear?
He's holding up the bread box.
Yeah.
That's what he's good for. Yeah, this is a weird pause.
This is very strange. This is such a waste of time in a debate.
Oh, we got the mic up a bit loud here. Hang on. Okay, we'll balance that a little bit better.
What? Imagine trying...
Just as normal, we have the mic completely skewed towards me because
Imagine
Chris just
trying
overpowers
to
everything.
balance the microphone.
Jeb is the prodigal Bush.
Unironically, I think Jeb was probably the better of the Bush kids, but he just waited too long to go federal.
Should we introduce ourselves? Because we didn't. And there might be people watching that don't know us.
That's true. So,
we are based.
To start with, I am your usual host, Chris.
Of the Great Canadian Bagel.
Of the Great Canadian Bagel format.
Mm-hmm.
And with me tonight is my lovely fiancée, Lexie.
I'm his fiancée. Fuck all the other women.
Let me just tell you, if you want to make a lovely lady very happy, proposing to her, she'll just be beaming for a week or more.
Yeah, that's the only reason I wanted to introduce ourselves, really. I told Chris he's created a monster because I feel extremely superior now to like every other woman. They don't have rings, I do. Who are you? Who are we? Well, yeah, Chris does everything for this channel except for the thumbnail art. That's me, usually.
Sometimes I make thumbnails.
Sometimes he makes thumbnails. You can usually tell when he made the thumbnails versus when I made the thumbnails. And I also made, if you guys saw his feudalism video.
You should, it's good.
It is a good video. I'm very proud because I made all the little sprites that he used in that video and they came out really well. What weird music they used for this.
What a weird... Oh, now we're on a black screen.
I'm surprised Lexie didn't hold up for Pierre and his caps. Pierre's taken.
Pierre is
He has a beautiful wife and 2 gorgeous children. Oh. Did you hear that?
Mm-hmm. What was this weird pause? What was this for? Did someone like break into the studio and disrupt the debate?
It's probably a commercial break on TV.
Commercials are fake.
Okay, are Notley and Smith and this hostess all wearing the same jacket?
Yes.
See, this is why I refuse to wear a blazer in my new job. Every woman in a blazer looks the same.
Who's this?
I hope you know you lost our power, Chris. P.S. I wish you had the Burger King crown in that video.
That would've been funny.
That would've been funny. I swear to God, it's the same blazer.
Did they just replace Notley with some random person?
I don't know.
Saying that we needed to go back to mandates and start masking kids in school, and I said,
oh, gross.
Absolutely not. We are not going back to that.
Based.
If the problem is AHS, then let's fix AHS. So we talked to doctors and nurses and paramedics on the front line. We listened to them.
The mic drop out?
Oh, is the mic too low?
Are we okay? I can turn it back up.
How's this?
We can blow your earballs out, that's okay.
In both of our major cities, ambulances in rural are staying in rural, and we're reducing surgical wait times. We're going to be able to keep this.
It's actually kind of impressive here. All the small but useful things. Can you still not hear us? The TV is too low.
What has happened? It looks okay on our end. Nothing seems to have changed.
Weird.
Can you hear it in your ears?
I can hear it. The debate's fine on my end, though. I think I'm not using the... We're not used to this tech stuff.
Yeah.
I work in this well, I don't work in this industry at all.
No, actually not at all. But if you're interested in hearing what they're actually saying, I would recommend having the debate open in a different tab anyway, because we're going to be jabbering over it most of the time anyway.
Yeah, I mean, that's the appeal of something like this in my mind.
Yeah. But you were saying small changes.
Yeah, Smith has done...
All right, thank you very much.
Sorry. I just read Rocco's comment here. That's classic. Smith has done a lot of small changes to healthcare. It's actually like really cleaning up a lot of the issues with it.
Can she come here and do the same?
For now, Houston's doing stuff.
I'm not seeing it.
He's forced a bunch of new med school seats open in both Cape Breton EU and another one. But this is not Nova Scotia today.
We had to make sure that they had the ability to drop patients off when they arrived on the site so that they can get back out and be there for you when you needed them. And that was a very straightforward idea that came from the front lines, and Ms. Notley had an opportunity.
Wait, were ambulances not dropping people off before?
No, they were doing like first, like nurse aid in the hallways of the hospital while they're waiting for the hospital to take the patient.
But the hospital should take the patient. Chris, look at the 1993 and 2012 and today vote.
I assume you're talking about the Alberta elections? I seen them, 2012 was when Smith fumbled it, and 93 was, blanking on it. Ralph Klein just barely won a win. What do you think it's going to be somewhere between those two?
We've got, just last week, we had 15-hour waits in emergency rooms all across Calgary. And we recently, just this year, half as many doctors are accepting new patients. So there is a problem. It's very real. And selling our
So yeah, there is a problem, but it's a problem being suffered by all of Canada right now.
Yeah, I think it's a very disingenuous line of attack from Notley. It's not really Smith's fault for any of those things, or the UCP's fault for that matter.
Has Smith been in a... So, normie moment, what is Smith's position right now?
She's premier.
Okay. Yeah, like, the emergency room wait times are something that you can't... I don't know if you can fix very fast. Like, you'd have to basically build new hospitals and hire so many new doctors and nurses.
The big issue is the lack of doctors and nurses.
Yeah, and that's a long-term problem. Just so you know, I've been waiting a long time for a Bagelcast. These are always so fun. Oh, thank you so much, Hacksource.
Well,
we've been waiting to do one.
What you should do, legit Hacksource, if you want more of these, is just contrive more elections.
Yes.
You should join me in Big Poll, where we just force elections to happen. We actually go into cabinets, and we're like Grim at Wormtongue it, if you know Lord of the Rings very well, and we just convince them to have elections for no reason. I caused 2021. That was actually all on me, that whole election.
In the meantime, you should follow Chris at Bagel Polling on Twitter.
Yes.
Because there's a stream of consciousness on Twitter because he tweets about 30 times a day.
Yeah, I'm much more unfiltered on Twitter than I am on YouTube. Not necessarily because I'm concerned about YouTube's editorial guidelines, but more the video style. I'm more of a pundit on Twitter, and I'm more of a reporter on YouTube.
Went down and the cost went up. Now that's not entirely surprising because most often when you engage in experimentation with privatization, that's what happens. It's the same thing that's going on with the lab situation in
Rocco?
with the UCP
I thought I replied to you on Twitter. I must have forgotten, but the poll's anonymous, so it's very difficult for me to actually tell you where to put you. I might actually take the same poll and turn it into a quiz for people who are curious where they rank for the future. But
oh, that'd be cool.
Because I could easily convert that to a quiz.
Oh, that's neat. Yeah, that's a good idea.
So I'll
BuzzFeed quiz.
I'll do that like next month or something like
that.
What
potato are you? But where do you fall on Bagel's fiscal policy? But you should line them up with a bagel flavor.
Oh, I love it.
Like, based on your fiscal policy, are you like a cinnamon raisin or like a poppy seed bagel or what?
Maybe you're a chocolate chip bagel.
Well, that'd be weird. That's just a round muffin.
Have you never had one?
I didn't know that was a thing.
It's a thing.
No.
It's legit.
If you're a socialist, you can be a multi-grain bagel. No, that doesn't make sense. They don't have grain. Gonna make a country and force multiple elections every week so we have more Bagelcasts. I also have Bagel Twitter notifications. Oh my gosh, your phone must be blowing up. I follow him and I have him muted.
The love in this one.
He floods my Twitter and I hear about it anyway. Everything that happens on his Twitter gets filtered through me first anyway.
Not always.
That's true. Sometimes you send them to me after the fact. Chris, St. Albert Edmonton can be the new seat pickup for the UCP if they win 60-plus seats.
That seems plausible. I had to look at the data, the numbers on it, but if they're winning 60-plus, that definitely is one for pickup.
60-plus seems nice.
That'd be nice. It'd be a landslide. No one thinks they're going to win more than like 55 right now. And by no one, I mean I'm the only one who thinks they're going to win 55. Or could. That's a very disingenuous interpretation of what Smith was saying.
They don't feel respected and they don't feel that this government is at all focused on science and having their back. Go ahead.
The government wasn't focused on science.
Oh, are they talking about the vaccine thing?
Yeah.
Oh man, I missed it. Man, that was based. That was so based.
Miss Notley isn't running at all on her record from when she was premier because she would have to admit that surgical wait times actually went up for 9 key surgeries. She'd have to admit that she didn't actually have the courage.
This is an interesting tactic from Smith to focus heavily on attacking Notley's healthcare record. Because healthcare is generally the issue Notley's best on, so it could damage her on that issue. But it's also the issue she's strongest on, so it's easier for Notley to talk about that and discuss it or counter it. It's a very interesting strategy. Let's see if it pays off, though. We'll see in the future.
See how it works out for her.
Yeah.
I want to know from your point of view where you put me because I comment on your videos and Twitter. I'm a person who likes other person's point of view and where I stand on issues. It is kind of hard to get an idea of what people are like from just comments.
Yeah,
but you'd know better than me.
It's difficult. Like I would really need to discuss it because I think policy is an easier way to address it, and we don't. Your comments and other comments don't usually like dive deep into why you believe things.
It's one of those things like you'd really have to like sit down with somebody and actually talk to them.
Yeah, like in person, like over a coffee or something.
Yeah. Chris, look at Bulgaria elections going back to the 7th time in a row now.
Bulgaria is going to be going through elections for ages, I think.
What's wrong with Bulgaria?
It's a bit complicated, but the very, very Cliff Note version is they don't.
They just don't have them?
They can't.
They don't stop.
They can't. The electorate's really split, and they can't create a. They're not electing a viable government coalition.
Oh no! So they have to keep redoing it?
Yeah.
But proportional representation. Come on.
Given that volatility, how will you pay for these commitments and stay on budget without steep cuts? That first question going to.
Why does it have to be without steep cuts?
Well, because
why can't we have cuts?
And I would say that is the Notley view of the world. That is certainly not my government's view of the world. We believe that we are going to reduce emissions, not that we are going to reduce oil and natural gas. We know that with all of the exciting things that are happening with carbon capture and utilization and storage and all the green technology, we can continue to have a robust, vibrant oil and natural gas sector for years to come.
I mean, the other thing we're noting too is they have to have an oil and gas sector. Things like plastics, lubricants, etc. even if we're not using oil and gas as fuels,
Yeah.
we need lubricants and we need plastics, and you create those through oil extraction.
I'm comfortable speculating at least 50% of everything you encounter in your daily life is plastic, is like a petroleum product, if not more.
Probably a lot of your clothes are petroleum products in practice.
Producing energy. I want to create jobs.
I want to create jobs building solar panels and falling off roofs and dying.
Notley wants to create jobs. Meanwhile, 183,000 private sector jobs were lost during her tenure.
It's interesting. I watched a Freedom Tunes video the other day about automation in industries and how people worrying about robots replacing them and taking their jobs is a little bit fear-mongery because that's not really how it ends up. There's like a transitionary period, but then it ends up okay. And I wondered if that would be if a similar argument would be applicable to this whole emissions energy sector thing, but I don't know that it is, because Wait, what? I'm sorry, slavery? I'm sorry. Okay. Anyway, that threw me off. Okay.
That was a surprise.
Yeah, I don't know if if a similar comparison can be made between like automating agriculture, for example. Like the Freedom Tunes video made the example of how like 80% of people used to work on farms, and now 1% of people work on farms, but 79% of people aren't unemployed. Because industries expanded because people had the time basically to innovate more and do other things. I don't know if the same can be said necessarily for oil and gas and like energy, because it's not that you're maintaining an industry and just making it more efficient. It's like you're killing an industry.
Yeah. And you're,
That's
the Sovereignty Act was based. What are you talking about, Notley?
The Sovereignty Act was based. Why was everybody so mad?
Because
oh no, you're fracturing Canada. Oh God, who cares?
Well, you're not fracturing Canada though. You're just asserting the province's sovereignty. The provinces are sovereign entities. People do not accept this. They ignore it. But they're sovereign entities. They are different governments, provincial, federal, or basically international negotiations.
I mean, I wish that was the case.
It is though.
Well,
You did not see this, but she just like fired knives at my soul.
He just got the "you're dating a law student" look, who just finished the constitutional law part of the education. They're not as separate as as I would like them to be, especially since the law and the courts kind of treat the provinces as the inconvenient younger brother of the federal government. But I would love it if
Sorry, to interrupt you. This is a really good point Smith is bringing up here. She was just exonerated for interfering in the judicial investigation over whether they were going to charge people like Arthur Pawlowski. CBC and Notley and the NDP were all trying to slander, saying that she was doing what Trudeau did. She didn't do anything. Ethics Commissioner exonerates her.
Who did the Ethics Commissioner not exonerate?
Trudeau.
Not that matters. I have an idea for the future. You could make a Discord for this channel. We all do voice calls and talk about today's issues and future ideas. Kind of like the Matt Christensen show, call-in show, I guess.
Oh, call-in show could be interesting in the future.
That could be interesting, yeah. It's like a stream where they have like little timed Discord calls, basically. It's literally like a radio show call-in show. It's kind of neat.
You both mentioned the desire to reduce emissions. Both of your parties have signaled the desire, in fact, to move towards a net zero future. So,
might be something to think about in the future, Rocco.
I'll put that as a 1,000 subscriber goal.
Oh, that'd be cool.
That happens.
Well, that's
that would be so much funny.
So let me first point out, in contrast to what Ms. Smith had said previously, is that I was actually the first political leader in Alberta over a year ago to...
she was the first political leader in Alberta.
Albertans, and point out that the draft emissions targets coming from the federal government were unrealistic. I do, however, believe that we need to come up with a Made in Alberta plan that includes practical.
So, is anybody going to be based enough to say emissions targets are garbage and I don't care about them?
I don't think so. I don't think the Canadian public has.
Would any Alberta voter really be mad about that?
Possibly.
Maybe in Calgary.
Well, you say that, but Calgary is where the election's going to be decided.
I guess. That's lame. What? What? I think emissions targets are dumb. I would say that, and I'm from Ontario. Yeah, they're dumb. I don't think any Albertan, any normal Albertan, is gonna really, like, get up in a huff if a candidate says emissions targets are dumb and they're bad for Alberta and I'm not gonna adhere to them. Canada makes, what, like, I think we're net negative, honestly, because of all the trees.
Yeah, our emissions are basically irrelevant on the global scale, completely. I mean, China builds more coal power plants a year than we even emit emissions, so who cares?
Personal income taxes, 183,000 jobs were lost in the first couple of years.
Yes.
Well, let me just say, first of all, when we talk
It's a lot of jobs.
So how many cents of the gas price is carbon tax right now?
41 cents right now. And they're
Oh my
gonna
god, I forgot it was that much.
and they're going to add another 13
that's my record. So that's
soon.
Is that just here or is that everywhere?
That's every well, it's every province with the carbon tax.
I want to die. The carbon tax is just a tax on rural people.
It's a very, very, very regressive tax.
Yeah, it's a tax on people that aren't rich enough to already live downtown. Alberta needs to have WPP, like OPP or a WCPP with, that's a lot of acronyms. What's going on there?
I presume he means like a Western police force? Western provincial police for like Western Canada?
Sorry, why is Notley accusing her of potentially losing jobs in Alberta?
The same measure, because if you look at our measure, we have increased our net jobs 136,000.
Nope. Notley ate or Smith ate a frog.
Oh no. Oh, there she goes. She's good.
By my count, I guess, 3 times what Ms. Notley.
Quebec doesn't currently pay carbon taxes. They have their plan is quote unquote the same.
They are special. They're always special.
We're not going to come through with surprise taxes. In fact, we're going to have a tax hike guarantee so that if there is ever a proposal for an increase in carbon tax or personal taxes or sales taxes, it has to be put to the people because these kinds of policies
Based.
end up chasing
If you make it so that
Based, but also, like, Calgary is probably... The freaking city people are probably always going to approve a carbon tax hike.
Calgary's very fiscally conservative.
Are they?
Yeah.
Then why are they so cringe?
Edmonton's more of the cringe one. They vote NDP.
People that live in cities are cringe. Justin is going to add now a second carbon tax. This feels like the 14th carbon tax.
Yeah.
Do we have provincial, do we have like a Nova Scotia specific carbon tax?
No.
41 cents. Gas is gas is 147 right now.
Yep.
God help me. Are you telling me that back when gas was $1, it could have been like 50 cents?
We didn't have the carbon tax then.
Oh, no wonder gas is high. So this isn't left over from when gas
No,
prices
this is just
spiked.
carbon tax now.
That was on purpose they did that.
Yeah.
They applied these carbon taxes as the price was going down from when they... Remember when it spiked for whatever reason? I think from... They were pretending it was the war, but it was really something else.
Well, I mean, it was the war. Oil is like the most price-sensitive commodity. Like anything that might disrupt supply. Why does it go to black screen like this and then go to what is this?
Bro, I'm mad. So it spiked, right? And then it naturally comes down. They applied the carbon taxes as it was going down so that it just stayed up. I'm
In
mad.
Nova Scotia, at least, yes.
I'm mad. I really thought it just stayed up. Wow. It could have gone back to $1.
It could be 140, 106 right now.
Oh my god. I am angry. Oh my god. I don't know what I'm gonna do.
I'm surprised they didn't actually raise gas price. Oh my god, maybe they're gonna raise gas prices tonight. Oh no, I should have got gas tonight.
You should have got. We have a long drive. I guess it's not that long, but.
I don't have enough gas to drive there and back, and they're probably gonna raise prices tonight because it's a long weekend. They always raise prices.
And you have to buy the bougie gas.
That doesn't actually matter. It's only 9 cents more always.
He buys Gucci gas.
I mean, I work in software. I bought a fancy car. Well, not that fancy of a car. I bought a Civic Si, so it's like the fancy version of a generic car. And this must be commercial.
Go get an EV? No. I will divorce him if he gets an EV.
You heard it, folks.
EVs are cringe. Tell him why we hate EVs. We can fill up the whole commercial break with why EVs are stupid. First of all, not cheaper. Not even close.
So they're very expensive. What's the word for it?
I don't think you'll save on gas.
No, I've done the math on them. At least with Nova Scotia electricity prices versus gas prices, you are really looking at you need to drive like 500,000 kilometers to break even on the difference between that and a normal car.
500,000?
500,000 kilometers.
A normal car can't hit that.
And
let alone an EV that's gonna crap out
EVs
after like 50.
typically only last 3 or 4 years of normal driving before their batteries start getting worn out. And you'll notice most people who own EVs don't actually own them for that long. They usually lease them and they replace them within that time period.
It's cringe.
It's
And they're dangerous.
Yeah, they are more dangerous than
And
crashes.
having to charge your car is cringe and soy. And since we live rurally, I judge people really harshly. The range on them sucks. And you can never guarantee if any given gas station is going to have like an EV charging station.
Most don't here.
Also, who the hell wants to stop for 45 minutes and charge their car? I just, gay. Gay and cringe. Rocco says, cut ties with Quebec. They need us more than we need them. Stop giving Quebec special things. That is major BS. See, I'm actually an honorary Bloc member because I also want them to leave.
I would vote Blanchette as long as he promised that they would leave.
They should open up. They should really advertise outside of Quebec. Just advertise, vote Bloc and we'll leave.
We're on education now.
Maybe vodka soda wasn't a good idea.
It's okay.
It's fine. I don't need to know things. Built 106 new schools? Wow.
They only built 47 schools.
Okay, Ms. Notley.
Oh, that's a big difference.
Only 47 schools. Why are they building so many new schools?
Alberta's exploding.
Wow, worse than us?
All the people are moving there. All of them.
What the hell's happening to us? Is it just like NIMBYs from Ontario moving
So
here?
picture Toronto, right? Picture Bay Street, right?
They're all buying cottages.
They're like, Bay Street's too expensive. Let's move to Halifax.
Who the hell thinks of Halifax?
Apparently them.
I liked it better when no one knew we were here.
Nah, no offense to anyone from Ontario or like Vancouver, but don't come to Nova Scotia, please. No, it's terrible here. There's nothing worth even looking at. Everything's on fire.
There's no ocean.
Hell and brimstone.
No ocean, they lied to you.
There's no fish. There's no
dried up.
food.
There's no trees.
We're all starving.
It's just rocks.
It's just coal mines.
Just coal mines. I actually just got back from the coal mine.
Yeah.
We did have a lot of disruption over the last few years, and that's part of the reason we need to have
Disruption.
in our system.
COVID.
I don't think teachers forget though.
Oh, is that it? I
Yeah.
thought she was going somewhere with that.
Year after year under a UCP government, we gave them a much deserved 3.75% wage increase, and I think that that's what we're hearing.
Okay,
from the front
giving
line.
raises to teachers is honestly a demerit in my eyes.
Educational assistance,
Oh,
and they also
Lexie,
want
vote NDP now.
stability so that they have time to deal with the very severe mental health crisis of our kids.
They have mental health crisis caused by the lockdowns.
To our education system under the UCP. We now have the most crowded classrooms in the country. That was not the case when we left office, but it is the case.
Yeah, because everyone
Well, yeah.
left Alberta while you were in. Everyone came back.
Wow. Okay, can you use a population boom as like
Did it on the back
a feather in your cap as the premier?
No,
No?
that doesn't make any sense.
Like I was
Oh, you mean,
premier
like-
and everyone came.
Yeah, sorry. I thought you meant the other way around.
Yeah, like wouldn't you want to brag like when I became premier everybody moved here? Like can't you say like yeah, our classes are crowded because everyone moved here because they love me.
Jared, we don't live anywhere near Sydney at all.
Oh god, not even close.
We've been there though.
It took many hours to drive there, but we have been there.
4.
It was lovely. But it wasn't though. Don't go there and
No,
never
it's
come here.
awful. There's only coal mines.
Just coal mines everywhere. Top to bottom.
Just everything's
But they're
coal.
all empty, so don't come here for jobs.
Yeah,
either.
no, there's no coal mines left.
Yeah, empty coal mines just collapses in death. This would be great news for you too. I have lots of money. and I will have a summer house in PEI. Because family, they're on the east side of the island, and winter home in Florida. Yo, bougie.
Bougie.
Chris has people in PEI.
Yes.
Vaguely.
Vaguely.
It's a small island.
I don't really want to name places because it's a small place, and at this point in my life, I don't particularly want to reveal where my family lives.
Yeah.
All right, that is our time for that. Unfortunately, we have to get to our next viewer.
PEI is small enough.
Yeah, they don't live in a very big town.
The town being the province.
This is a weird question.
Yeah, that's cringe.
Well, that's a really good question.
That's like some forced...
Let's see how Notley answers this. Oh, two.
So, very early on in the UCP mandate, it was under the former Premier Jason Kenney, they introduced the Alberta Indigenous Opportunities Corporation as a means to expand Indigenous participation in our economy.
The safest possible answer.
Cringe.
The number of opportunities that would qualify for that kind of support with Indigenous.
That's not is that a policy she's put forward though, or that's just something her government did?
That's something the government did.
That doesn't count.
Yeah.
Film and TV tax credit.
That was something Smith did, if I'm not mistaken, in the budget. I think the first thing was just a virtue signal because that feels out of topic.
Demerit. Oh, if you had a lot of money. Oh man, that's less bougie. Yeah, PEI is nice. I think PEI could use some more people. I don't think they're having any problems with population explosion.
Yeah, they are.
Are they? What is happening?
Everyone's moving to Atlantic Canada because it's cheap. Well, was.
Yeah, it was cheap.
Now we're just coal mines. Don't come.
Or just coal mines. Actually, under the ocean, which isn't there anymore. Seabed coal mines that are empty.
Becoming a doctor, and so we're seeing fewer doctors go into family medicine. And so I think we would both agree that we need to move towards team practice, that we need to make sure that we've got team practices for...
That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah,
That's a much better answer.
We do need... And this is a more honest answer, too, for the question prompt, because this is actually a relevant policy that Notley's talking about right now, not just a thing that the UCP did a couple years ago that isn't new.
This is a wild card question on a theme that's outside of our main topics.
Post media. Oh man, libs hate them.
Who Albertans trust more? Ms. Notley, based on the NDP's fiscal record in government, there are some people who don't trust you to manage Alberta's...
Context here, Alberta had 13 billion debt in 2015 when Notley took charge, and she left it with $87 billion of debt. 4 years.
First, what I would say is that when Ms. Notley campaigned last time around, she didn't tell anybody she was going to increase the carbon tax. She brought in a business tax, and she also ended up running up more debt than we've seen of any premier in our province's history. And the results speak for themselves. We saw 183,000 jobs lost in the first couple of years. We had a number of people moving out. We had 13 quarters of people leaving this province.
This is one of the reasons why the school sizes weren't that big of an issue. When you have everyone leaving, and then everyone comes in the next government.
What Alberta is all about. Oof. Alberta is back on track. We have more people coming in here than ever before. Our Alberta is Calling campaign is working. We've got more diversification and business investment. We've got to keep that going.
All right, thank you, Ms. Smith. Ms.
Business investment is always good.
Yeah.
First of all, let me say, I guess there's two things. First of all, I was very pleased to
Interesting to see how people, the lay person interprets this debate. Obviously, we're biased here on Bagelcast. We don't even really pretend to not be biased on Bagelcast. But to me, so far, I think the average person, the lay person, might be perceiving this as a draw so far. Now, if they're seeing things like this and they're seeing us call out Notley, we're not really calling out Smith for anything, but I've not really seen Smith. I've not heard Smith say anything. I might have missed things, to be clear. But I've not seen anything so far. It's mostly just been Notley who's been stretching the truth here.
What he means is that it's been boring.
Remember that one CPC debate, or the Conservative Party leadership debate, where they had the
trombone noises? That's the only thing I remember about that debate.
What I will also say is that when she came out,
Kitchener's bigger than PEI. Is that true?
I think so.
I think there's a lot of places bigger than PEI.
PEI is like 160,000, I think.
No, I mean like physically bigger.
Yeah.
Others did. Trevor Toome did. Jack Mintz did. There are several business reporters who did.
Hometown of Barrie just passed PEI in size.
What they have said is that would create instability. And the instability would chase additional investment out, it would chase jobs out, and we would go back and have a rerun of what we did in the period of time that Ms. Notley doesn't want to talk about, which is when she was breathing.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to understate how much Alberta suffered from 2015 onwards. The oil boom in the last couple of years really put it back on track. It didn't really recover until then. It was pretty languishing, and the carbon taxes and all the pressure on it is making it harder. The carbon tax disproportionately hurts Alberta compared to every other province. Well, other than Saskatchewan.
Why Saskatchewan?
They also do a lot of oil and gas and mining.
Hey Chris, why can't PEI get a Costco? That's sad. Well, I think Nova Scotia only has one.
Probably because PEI is too dispersed. It's tiny towns, not even small towns. Like
yeah, like there's Charlottetown and then there's nothing.
Charlottetown is a small town.
Yeah,
and that's the biggest one.
Ms. Notley, the NDP, and the CBC.
Man, this is almost too respectful.
That I was calling Crown prosecutors and my staff are calling Crown prosecutors, and it wasn't true. And that is what the ethics commissioner found. Look, I'm a non-lawyer. And I know that I need to be able to talk to my justice minister.
I wonder if someone told them all to take the same hairstyle. Because you're right, that's almost the same.
They look very similar. It looks like Unity models that you switch the hair color.
A small town is under 50,000 people. And smaller than that, like 10,000 or less would probably be like very small. I don't know, hyper small, ultra small.
No market for a Costco in that area, but your grandparents' summer house is 1 hour drive from Moncton. I bet Moncton has a Costco.
Probably does. One final wildcard question.
Wait, what?
Is the debate almost over? It's only
Excuse me?
9:50.
Are we going to be able to start moving again?
Major centers, but on the surface, that would only allow them to better respond to crimes as they're committed. So, in terms of creating safer communities beyond boots on the ground, what distinguishes your approach from your opponents? And we'll go to Ms. Notley first.
Well, that's a really very good question. So, I was pleased to see that Ms. Smith made the announcement to restore the funding to...
It's a 1 hour debate? This is a lot shorter than I thought it was.
At the beginning of their term by hiring the extra 150 officers. We matched that. And then we also went further and said we would also hire 150 more social workers, mental health therapists, those kinds of folks. We would to help.
I'm sure the mental health people really help when the drug addict on the street is ODing, when the person stabs someone on the bus.
Restoring funding for affordable housing. Under the UCP, we've lost 8,000 affordable housing units, and a further 4,000 people were cut off of shelter allowances. And that level of homelessness has created a real crisis, contributing to the concerns around community safety.
All right, Ms. Smith.
No. Straight up, no.
Off, we wouldn't defund the police.
No.
Again, Ms. Notley has defund the police candidates on her platform, on her candidate roster. I lost count of them as well. The frontline services are demoralized. And
they are. My brother-in-law works in policing. They're pretty... There's a lot of restraint, pressure on them to really not do much.
I don't know why he still does it, honestly.
He has 2 kids and a wife.
Yeah.
And not worry that they're going to be randomly attacked. And they certainly have a right to walk past an open doorway without having to inhale secondhand crystal meth smoke. We have an approach that is going to make sure that we crack down on public safety and crime and make sure that people feel safe again.
All right, thank you, Ms. Smith. We've got about 90 seconds for this free debate. Ms. Notley.
Well, I need to start by saying when it comes to defunding the police, the UCP
Excuse me.
actually defunded the police. The money that they used to hire the 150 is a restoration of the money they cut in 2019. And that's on top of additional police grants.
Well, what did they cut it from, though?
Rocca, that would be a small city.
Actual defunding of the police is something that I think they should take a responsibility for.
You know, one thing I'm so proud about with our UCP record is it's what's being known as the Alberta model for a recovery-oriented system of care. Because we know policing is only one side of the story. The other is getting people the help
This is the most
they need.
based policy Smith is pushing right here.
The foremost experts on the recovery-oriented system of care. We got rid of the $40 per day user fee that Ms. Notley charged. We've added 10,000 treatment beds. We're building recovery communities, some in conjunction with First Nations partners.
What is it?
And we are going to make sure
It is.
that every single
It's
person
two-pronged.
who wants
It's
addiction treatment has access to a treatment.
rehab-focused addiction policy.
Like involuntary rehab?
Yes, and the second part is it's involuntary. If parents, police, doctors think someone is a problematic addict, they can go to a court and get a court injunction to compel them to go to rehab instead of going to jail. Which is basically what Portugal did. The leftists like pointing to Portugal and be like, they decriminalized the drugs, ignoring the fact that Portugal puts involuntary treatment as a consequence for doing drugs.
So yes, Notley, whoever she is, she basically said people are homeless, so they're doing crime. Which, for one, no, like that's not a thing. Like, I know why, if you don't think about it very hard, that sounds like it makes sense, but it doesn't, because the crimes that they're talking about here are violent crimes.
Yeah.
If you're homeless and desperate, you're not choking and stabbing somebody in the street. Like, that's not how that works. Homelessness does not drive you to commit violent crime. Because nobody's talking about shoplifting, and here's the myth, too. Most extremely poor people don't commit crimes. Mm-hmm. I will also point out that not all homelessness, but a lot, like serial homelessness, like some people are temporarily homeless for like external factors that are like they just have nowhere to live right now, they lost their job, unfortunate circumstances, whatever. But they usually they get back on their feet again and they don't remain homeless. People who are like serially homeless
are almost always drug addicts.
Yeah, like the homelessness and the crime go hand in hand there because like one is causing the other. Because you're not a sane or healthy person. You're either insane or a drug addict or probably both.
This is why,
and that's why you're committing violent crimes. You need to be reined in and taken care of.
This is why involuntary treatment is so important.
So the loss of affordable housing is not why you have a violent crime problem. That makes no sense if you think about it for more than 2 seconds. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what the hell she thinks that's going to do aside from potentially get her elected by Calgary University students. I hate this. I get so mad. You were saying?
Involuntary treatment is the only way to actually solve long-term homelessness, because a lot of these people are either actually mentally ill. And when I say that, I don't mean like you're a woke or you're a wine mom who's quote-unquote depressed.
Yeah, you're not anxious. You're schizophrenic.
Like, you're schizophrenic. You're extremely bipolar. And when I say extremely, I mean like completely unfunctional.
These are people who are not in touch with reality at all.
It's either those people or it's just people who got into drugs and it went too far, too deep, and they're just completely hopeless now. Those people need rehab to get clean and get reorganized, re-put on the society, re-put back on their feet. The mentally ill people, they need to be in a mental asylum, and not like, oh, it's prison. No, it's like, no, they need constant medical supervision because they're not sane.
No.
If you're severely schizophrenic, you can't function.
And okay, you can tell me all day that mental hospitals suck, and they probably do. I'm not going to argue with you there, but it's probably better than homeless bum under bridge getting into fights with other homeless bums.
The alternative to mental hospital is prison. That's what it is. As we got rid of mental hospitals, they just got our prison incarceration rates goes up.
Wasn't there a direct correlation between asylum numbers and prison numbers?
Yep.
Because it turns out when you leave extremely mentally ill people alone, they do violent and dangerous things and commit crimes.
Yep.
reminder, election day.
I know who was homeless for 2 years. They got help from their families, and they got themselves out of homelessness. It's very hard, but I have a lot of respect for them because they got themselves out of homelessness. Yeah, that's fantastic. Like, the thing is, like, people who have lost their home because of a job loss or... Oh, the live coverage has concluded. You can just hide that source. People who have lost their home for whatever reason...
That didn't work.
The literally unhoused are not... And this is honestly kind of... This is offensive, Notley. This is bigoted, actually. Because you're basically saying, homeless people, you're the problem. But, like, just the fact that someone has lost their home does not make them a criminal.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a thing. Usually the criminal part kind of comes first.
Yeah. Well, because the thing is...
Like, you don't become a violent criminal because you're homeless. And the problem here is violent crime.
What most people don't seem to get, or at least most left-wing politicians don't seem to get, is you don't start committing crimes usually, or at least meaningful crimes, because your life is bad. Like, if you are starving, you might go to the store and steal a loaf of bread. But you look at the actual examples of looting we're seeing.
You might not even do that.
You might not even do that. But, like, if you're truly, extremely, amazingly starving, you might see that. Mm-hmm. But what usually happens is they don't do that. They go to soup kitchens. They go to churches. They go to something else. And they try...
They ask a stranger to help them.
Genuinely, honestly, get food and get shelter. What actually ends up happening, though, in a lot of these cases, is what you're actually seeing in the crime stuff is mass looting, or it's theft. Serious theft. Mm-hmm. Starving people don't steal an entire coat rack of coats.
They don't steal, like, a 30 rack of beer.
No. They don't steal beer. They don't steal televisions.
Steal condoms and cigarettes.
They don't mug people. The people who do that are either hoodlums, gangsters, or drug addicts. Drug addicts steal these things not because they're criminals, but because they're drug addicts. Mm-hmm. If you cure the drug addiction, they'll stop doing that. They're stealing these things to fund the drug addiction.
Pio is moving to the East Coast soon.
You shouldn't move to Nova Scotia, it's just coal mines.
Coal mines on the seabed because the ocean's not here.
Yeah.
Yes. Question, let me finish up this point, though. I don't understand how these people... I assume they must just not think about it very hard because they don't want to. Because people will think that an otherwise reasonable person will come upon a difficult time in their life and just start fucking stabbing strangers, I guess? Like Buddy on that subway in New York that got chokeholded to death. Like, you're just an otherwise normal, reasonable person, and you come upon some hard times, and you just start violently threatening people on the subway, as you do. Like, I don't know why do people think this is a normal thing?
I don't know.
Just because you're in a difficult situation, because you've lost your home for a legitimate reason, you're not going to go out and stab somebody. This is not how this works. And stop accusing poor people of being criminals. Like, for real, this is getting offensive. Like, actually.
Yeah.
Like, do you remember when people were like, stop conflating mental illness and criminal behavior? But now they're conflating poverty with criminal behavior. It's the same problem.
Yeah, they're not.
Poverty does not cause criminal behavior. It's not a thing. Stop talking about it. Like, stop saying this. It's simply not a thing.
We actually have a lot of data for this.
Oh, he fell for a girl in Eastern Canada. That's really cute. Congratulations, Pio. He's moving to New Brunswick. Aww.
New Brunswick actually exists. You can move there.
That's really
Don't
sweet.
move to Nova Scotia. There. It's not real.
That's really cute. You're saying?
We have data on this, though. Mm-hmm. There isn't a very good correlation. There's not much correlation between violent crime and poverty.
No.
There's not much correlation between poverty and theft. What did you say? You said,
We've got this. The streams look different. Well, whatever. It doesn't matter.
People confuse those things. There isn't much correlation there. There is a very, 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 very strong correlation between...
I don't think there's any causation either.
There's no...
I simply do not believe you. Like,
there's no... Well,
they've been beating this drum for decades, and I don't believe it.
Say for fact there's no causation. Because if being extremely poor caused people to commit crimes, how did anyone survive the 19th century?
How does any communist nation survive the crime?
How is Venezuela not a bloodbath right now?
And it's
why isn't there just abject murder on the streets? Just people running up and just knifing each other.
That's not really a problem they have.
Why isn't it a battle royale? It's not.
That's one problem they don't have, isn't it?
I'm not going to say there's no crime in Venezuela.
Yeah, but it's not like their main issue, like El Salvador or something.
It's not the main issue in El Salvador anymore anyway. Turns out if you put all the criminals in jail, crime goes away. But what we can say very clearly, there's really two things that we can directly confirm the crime. One is no dads. Boys without a dad don't understand.
You won't know dad.
Boys who don't have a dad growing up commit crimes because they don't understand how male relationships work. They don't understand.
And they have terrible role models. And they get into organized crime.
They don't have They have no male role model. So any gangster who gives them even a little bit of attention becomes their male role model and they become gangsters. Turns out boys puppet their most respected male role model in life. So if you don't have a father in the house who's doing an honest, safe, good job, you don't have anybody. There's no one there to model from. The other thing that we know for a fact that does lead to crime, it's not mental illness per se. It's certain severe mental illnesses. You being depressed or you having anxiety or what's another one, that ADHD or something like that.
Yeah.
That doesn't cause crime.
Even like, autism or is that that's not a mental illness. That's like a disability or a deformity or something.
I don't know.
There's a lot of mental illnesses that don't affect like criminal proclivity, but like severe unmitigated schizophrenia is pretty good at making criminals out of people, stuff like that.
Or extreme bipolar that's not handled well.
There's a couple of mental illnesses that create violent behavior. That's just a thing. It's a symptom of the disease.
And then you also do have the treatment we give to a lot of mental illnesses. A lovely medication from our favorite friends in the pharma industry called SSRIs. And SSRIs, you can look in the data yourself. You can look at the studies yourself. There's plenty of them from countries like Sweden, the US, etc. There's all sorts of them.
You're gonna get banned.
I'm gonna get banned. But you can look at these studies. And there's two things SSRIs are very strongly linked to.
Did you?
Suicidal ideation.
Which is hilarious.
And homicidal ideation.
So, like, okay, SSRIs are a treatment for depression.
Yes.
If they're really strongly linked to suicidal ideation, shouldn't you just stop prescribing
They say that in the commercials. If you watch an infomercial on TV for antidepressants, they say may cause suicidal thoughts.
So, like, that's a side effect of, like, everything, though. So, sometimes they have to state that just to cover their bases, but, like, it seems like it's actually something to be concerned about.
It is there are lots of people who committed suicide after going on SSRIs.
Rip. That maybe that's insensitive. To return to pardon me, I'm half of a vodka soda in here.
She's small, so
I am very small. Me helping with moving is really just moral support. But back to the correlation of crime and poverty. I'm sure there's a very high correlation of crime and poverty because crime creates poverty. And I think they've always seen this correlation that poor areas are high crime. But I think they've gotten the causation backwards.
That's still not really true.
No, because when there's a high crime area, businesses leave.
No, sorry. That is true.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Okay,
crime will create an impoverished area.
I saw a really hilarious study a while back where they were saying, proven gangs reduce GDP in a region. And it's like, wow.
Mexico would beg to differ.
Legit fact story. She only weighs like 110 pounds. Like,
that's ambitious.
that's like a half a vodka soda is like half her body weight.
What percentage are you? It's a Blue Lobster, so 6%. That's kind of a lot, actually. That's more than wine.
No, it isn't.
It's also carbonated, so that hits you harder.
It does. I will grant her that, but it's not more than wine. Wine's 15.
Okay, in return, though, I don't feel caffeine at all. I don't care how much caffeine you put in my body, I can go right to sleep.
What if I gave you one of your entire things of...
I will drink one of those and go to bed. It does not matter. They have 170 milligrams of caffeine.
I have no context of how much that is.
A coffee is like 40.
This would just annihilate ants.
What?
That's what caffeine was evolved for in plants or whatever. It's anti-insect. It's an insecticide.
Caffeine's an insecticide?
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Best mixed drink is ginger ale and green apple Crown Royal. Maybe we'll try that.
Green apple Crown Royal. I'm not even sure we can buy that here.
Isn't Crown Royal a Canadian brand?
Doesn't mean it's in Nova Scotia.
Yeah, that's true.
The NSLC is very restrictive on what it sells.
It's also fucking expensive, but so is all alcohol in Canada.
My dad has a cousin who owns... I'm not going to say the brand because I don't want to...
It's a vodka brand, isn't it?
Yeah.
They made hand sanitizer for a while.
He owns a distillery, and they make vodka. And they can't sell it in Nova Scotia because the Nova Scotia government will not permit them to sell it.
Lame. Get it at the LCBO. Oh, the Crown Royal?
That's the Ontario liquor store, right?
Yeah.
Is it? Are all the liquor stores in Ontario provincially owned? I don't remember.
I thought that was a Canada-wide thing.
No, it's alcohol sales are handled by the province.
Really?
Yeah.
So we're just lame.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Do you know how much cheaper liquor is in the States?
A lot. We have a 300% markup by law.
Oh my god. Is that true?
Yes. That's why it costs...
Is that before taxes?
That's why it costs $10 to get a beer at a restaurant.
Oh my god.
It would have only...
How cheap is beer in the States?
Like $3.
We gotta move, man.
One of my buddies has family in Hungary, and when they go to Hungary every couple of years... Well,
I don't know why he doesn't just stay there. Hungary sounds awesome.
Beer is literally cheaper than bottled water there.
Oh my god.
And it's not like crappy. It's not like it's not some crappy beer like a Bud Light or something. It's
like Eastern European beer.
It's like solid like 5, 6, 7% beer.
Is Hungary Eastern Europe?
Yes.
So like maybe I should learn Hungarian because Hungary sounds based. They have a flat tax. Can we just shout out to Hungary for a flat tax? And if you have 4 children, you never pay tax again.
I think that's only for the woman.
That's fine. I'm the woman.
Wow.
Although it might defeat the purpose if the woman doesn't work. Actually, that kind of is a bit of a hole in their tax plan. They should fix that, but that is based.
Yes.
I wonder if you could like...
Another really base thing about Hungary. This is just hilarious.
What they could do?
Wait, let me interject.
You could structure that so the husband could have like like a corporation, and then the wife could be the only employee, and
this
just
is the lawyer and you talking about.
Pay all of the profits of the corporation, which is everything, to the wife, and then none of it would get taxed. This is not tax evasion. This is tax avoidance. Avoidance.
This is legal.
This is legal. The court said it. They did. They said you have every right to structure your affairs to minimize your taxes.
I'm not laughing at you. I just find this funny. The other really funny or great thing I learned recently about Hungary, which just makes them great, is their ambassador to the Vatican City is Eduard von Habsburg.
Ah, that's cool. But yeah, Hungary's cool. They do have a weird obsession with public bathing, though. But you didn't know that?
No.
I told you about that. Yeah, it's like one of their biggest tourist attractions in Budapest.
That's a tourist attraction?
Yes, they have these like leftover from when Rome was there, I guess. They have these huge, elaborate public bath systems. And it's like a 16-step process you go through. It's crazy.
She's not the only one who's a lightweight here. I can really only go like 3 or 4 beers, and then I'm
We don't
pretty
drink
up.
very much at all. We drink like a couple of times a year.
I basically only drink when I go down to the cottage with the boys.
Yeah, or like on a special occasion.
Yeah.
We almost never drink, so we have never built up a tolerance. Excuse me, my goodness.
I have no, for the YouTube people out there, YouTube moderators? Whatever.
Yeah.
For Susan, I have no idea if this is real.
Susan's not there anymore.
Oh no, Susan's replacement.
It's Neil now. Neil Muhan. Raja Muhan.
Neil, in case you're listening in.
Day drunk with the boys. Yes, literally.
I don't know how true this is. I've not verified this. This could be fake, but I've heard that apparently getting a certain medication that people were required actually reduces your alcohol tolerance.
Really?
Yes.
I've not heard that.
I've heard this recently. I think it was on Timcast or something. I might have missed.
I'm the least medicated person I know. And I'm the most based person I know because I've never gotten the illness. As hard as I've tried.
That's true.
I've never gotten the illness. Hungary's becoming very, very conservative. Can't remember the last time I had a drink because I can take or leave it. That's probably better for you in the long run.
Yeah.
We should go to Hungary sometime. Maybe we can go on our honeymoon there. That'd be kind of cool.
I don't speak Hungarian.
Do you need to?
I don't know.
It's a tourist attraction. People go to Budapest.
Maybe.
We can take Alex with us.
Just third wheel him.
He can be our interpreter. Oh, that'd be cruel. He's single.
Sometimes me, Alex, and John will play GeoGuess, which is a great game, by the way. 10 out of 10. Does exactly what it says on the tin. And we would pop up in Hungary and be like, oh, I've been here. Or, I know what that sign says.
Maybe I should learn Hungarian. That'd be cool.
You could, I guess.
I could talk to Alex.
You could.
That'd be cool for him, I bet.
He speaks Hungarian at home.
That's cool. Being bilingual is neat. You need to learn French now.
Bonjour. Come on, ça va.
Ça va bien. Comment ça va, toi? No, that's dumb. That makes no sense.
So, now, to back on the topic of the stream here, because we still have some time, and I'm not going to call it a bit yet. So we're gonna.
It's too late to move.
We're gonna discuss this. So the debate. Also, let me know if there's actually still video playing. My screen says it is, but my other screen doesn't. So I'm not sure which one is lying to me.
As long as there's no sound, it should be fine.
So let me know in the comment or the chat.
It's just Notley on a loop.
If there's something going on. But anyways, the main relevant and important thing here. This debate. So we listened to it. It's only an hour long, so there wasn't really too much to go into it. I'm going to say, as a biased, non-objective source.
A biased, non-objective source. Okay.
That this was probably a draw. I don't think there really was any time. I think we needed another hour to really get anything to go into this. Smith was composed and...
Oh, that's good.
Oh, if you don't hear anything, that's perfect. Smith was composed other than the fact that she had a frog in her throat, but that's not really any of her fault.
No. If anyone attacks her for that, they're a hack.
And Notley was polished and fine. You can there's some discussions and we can just debate their rhetoric and their points. I don't think the layperson is really going to see much difference. And this is not to belittle lay people, because I really want to make it clear, because sometimes some people in media or politics like belittling the average or median voter. It's not so much that they have no capacity, like the layperson is too dumb to notice it. It's just they don't follow this 24/7.
That's why I'm here. I'm that person.
Yeah.
I'm representing the normie.
So, I'm not really sure if this is going to have much impact. But that said, a draw is fine right now, because right now Smith is in a better position, and I suspect as time goes on, and the further we get distance from certain comments about Nazis,
I maintain that was based and she should double down. But that's me, and I'm confrontational.
You are confrontational.
A little bit.
Morocco, I don't... Okay, so...
So for those watching later who can't read the live chat, Rocco says you said the UCP is still in trouble after this.
I don't think they are right now. The last couple days of polls, an Ipsos poll, an Angus Reid poll, 3 Main Street polls, an Abacus poll, and a Research Co poll. Oh, and a Janet Brown poll came out. Several of these polls were after the last week, or basically this week polls. They're not bad polls for the UCP. Even if we don't do any of my fancy math on them, or any of my fancy corrections, they're not bad polls for the UCP. I don't think it's very likely, based on these polls, that we would see a UCP loss. We'll dip more in this on Sunday as I actually break down this week, assuming I don't completely flub everything, but I should have time Saturday morning to record. Anyways.
Man, you'll be recording in the new place?
I will be. The acoustics might be different.
Might be weird. Might be better, because it's carpeted.
Who knows? But anyways, what was I saying? The UCP should win right now. Unless there is a last week bombshell that the NDP are going to drop. It's very hard to break at this point. This election was always a very difficult one for the NDP to win, and I don't really think they have much of a chance here. The other thing to keep in mind, too, about this particular debate, to focus on this debate, there is the potential, especially if we see media pundits in popular newspapers in Alberta decide Smith won the debate, which I think is a possibility.
Do you think they'll admit it?
I think Post media is more popular in Alberta than alternatives. And Post media is generally conservative.
Fair enough.
If that's the case, this might just propel Smith to a win. Now, personally, I liked Smith's performance better, but I don't know if it was good enough to constitute a win, if you know what I mean.
So, normie opinion.
Yes.
Smith was a lot more personable, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Notley, whoever she is. This has nothing to do with her politics. It's just like how she comes off. But a lot of people they wouldn't have followed this race. Like, This just came on TV and they watch it. She makes a lot of kind of finger-waggy Karen faces when she talks, and it's off-putting. And yes, people do make judgments on these things. She just kind of has an unfriendly vibe to her. Smith was more approachable, I think, than Notley was. Notley also felt like she was more on the defense. Like, I perceived a bit more anxiety from Notley, like she felt like she had something to prove tonight, or she had, like, to defend herself. Like, she felt like she was in danger. Whereas Smith felt like this was just another Thursday. Like, she's just here, and she's got something to do later on, you know? Like, this was no big deal. Notley felt a little more anxious to me, just from the bit that I was paying attention to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that audiences do pick up on these things, and it does influence people that don't follow these things closely. The vibe that they get from people is very important, I believe. It's not just what they say, but it's what you get from people. Absolutely.
With that in mind, I didn't really pick up a lot of this body language stuff, but Lex is pretty good at it.
Thank you.
I think there is as I was about to say, and as Lexie was mentioning here, there is a possibility that if this is perceived as a Smith win...
I'm sorry, Rocco, Notley is the best NDP in Canada. This is from a conservative. I'm not going to argue with you, but, like, I don't think that's a compliment
I mean,
to the NDP.
Let's see, what is her
She's perfectly fine. She has unattractive policies, but she's not odious. And not odious is all they really need to be, is the thing.
Hey, that's not easy.
Yeah, when you're the NDP, not odious is hard.
We all saw Andrea Horwath,
Horvath, yeah.
Horvath, in Ontario, and, well, she comes across as a Karen.
Yeah, like, I'm not gonna say that Notley is... She's fine. She's a pretty generic politician, to be honest.
Mm.
But the fact that that's a high bar for the NDP says something about that party. Like, the fact that every NDP candidate is usually a train wreck and she's exceptional for not being a train wreck says something about them.
The big thing... This is a bit tangential to the debate, but the one interesting thing about this election isn't actually the election itself. It's the next election. Does Notley stay on if she loses? If she wins, obviously she stays on. That's a given. Mm-hmm. There's no way they're going to coup Notley, the NDP. Mm-hmm. In fact, the NDP is so, like, well...
They desperately need someone moderately likable in their party. Like, desperately.
But does she stay on if she loses? And if she doesn't stay on, no matter what the UCP does, they will go into a landslide in 27. I don't think there's a single NDP person in Alberta who could follow Notley. Full stop. I could be wrong. I'm not versed into every single person there. But Notley does have a little special something that the NDP needs. She has the ability to come across as a layperson, as opposed to either a affluent white female liberal or a socialist. Most NDPers show up in one of those two camps.
Yeah, she doesn't seem to be a frothing socialist, though. Correct me if I'm wrong.
And she comes across...
She seems like an average lib.
Yeah.
Which I guess would be frothing socialist by Alberta standards, but, like... Man, to live in such a reality. Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't it be nice if she was, like, the fringe of the left right now?
That would be nice.
Imagine that, like, she wants social workers in the police. And I forget what else she asked for. She didn't really say a lot in this debate. 38% but nobody really said
increase
much.
In corporate tax rate, not going from...
Wait, what?
From 8 to 11%.
Why?
38%.
Wait.
38% more. Like
in the corporate tax rate?
Yeah. So, like...
Is that a flat tax?
That is a tax on people. Businesses that make more than $1 million income. Flat.
What if they make below $1 million?
They have a different tax rate.
Yo, no wonder people like Alberta. That's nice.
They're the lowest corporate tax jurisdiction in North America.
Why would you mess with that? That's awesome.
I don't know.
And my question, and the question that should always accompany proposed tax hikes is to pay for what? To pay for what? Because if you haven't introduced a new program that needs funding, like, why are you hiking taxes?
Oh.
Like that.
So they can create more social programs?
If anybody learns something from this stream, always think in your head, whenever you hear a proposal for a raise in taxes on anything, or a new tax or anything, think to pay for what?
The other thing that's really important to note with corporate taxes is think about it this way, right? A corporation is trying to make money. That's literally its only purpose. So, if you have a corporation and it's making a certain profit margin, and it likes that profit margin, it's happy, it's content, and then you raise its taxes, it's only going to do one of two things. Leave, raise prices. It's not going to lose profits.
It literally can't. Here's an interesting thing that I learned in law school as a law student, which I am. So not only are corporations not going to do that, they literally legally can't do that. Like, it's not just that they're greedy and they won't, it's that they literally cannot. Because every member of a board of directors of a corporation is legally bound and obligated to act in the best interests of that corporation. Not of the shareholders, not of the board members, not of anybody. The best interest of the corporation, and almost invariably the best interest of the corporation is going to line up with whatever makes them the most money. You cannot voluntarily just eat a reduction in profit when you have another option. You are not allowed, like, that can get you in serious legal trouble. You can't do that. Like, this is not something they can just choose to do if they weren't so damn greedy. That, like, it's not an option. Get it out of your head.
Mm-hmm.
This is something I wish more people understood, but it's kind of a niche area of corporate law that no one would really know. But, like, you literally cannot. You're not allowed to just tank a reduction in profits, because any shareholder can sue you for that with very good success and very terrible outcomes for you. Like, you can be personally liable for the loss in profits for that. It's very, very dangerous. Don't do it. You can't do it. Like, no.
So what this means, then, is whenever you raise corporate tax, you either scare away businesses or you raise prices.
You have to.
Or, sorry, there's a third.
You literally have to.
There's a third. I forgot a third. You cause layoffs.
Yeah.
Those are the only three things that can happen.
You're allowed to consider, like, your employees or whatever, but you don't have to, and it can't trump the interests of the corporation.
Mm-hmm.
You can't sacrifice the corporation for your employees or your consumers or whatever. You can't do it.
And then we actually get onto the next level when you're talking about corporate taxes, where you're actually not talking about the practical, you're also talking about the philosophical thing. Why are you taxing corporations?
Because you want that money!
But
Because government's a greedy bitch.
What? Yes. But, like, we're not talking about reality here. We're talking about philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
The philosophical reasons. Why do you tax things?
Oh, we're getting into the deep philosophy here.
Yeah. Why do you tax things?
To raise revenue.
To raise revenue, okay.
Usually also to incentivize or disincentivize a behavior. That's one of many ways.
What are we getting the revenue for?
God only fucking knows.
No, but...
I don't know, government programs?
Yeah. Principally things like defense or Canada healthcare and
He's
stuff.
playing this game with the wrong person.
I am. I really need to have, like...
You need a normal, non-government hating person.
Yeah. I need a third co-host.
You need Liam.
A third co-host. I only have one co-host.
You need a second co-host. You need Liam. Liam would play this game.
He would. Where was I? So, the government taxes things so it can get revenue, so it can pay for the police, the military, other services, or whatever.
Ideally.
Yes. No, that's literally what it does. Mm-hmm. Not even ideally, that's what it does. And the reason you do that is for the benefit, in theory, of the people. In other words, the government doesn't tax you to make your life better, per se. It taxes you to make the country exist. You don't have defense, you don't have a country. You don't have borders, you don't have a country. You don't have
it's
people, you don't have a country.
For the benefit of everybody.
Yes. So what this means is that as a person, the taxes you're paying aren't to pay for services. They are to pay for society, to have the society persist. So it doesn't make sense in this context to have any taxes on people who aren't people. Yes, technically corporations are people by law, but that's stupid and dumb.
Well, I'd push back on that, but that's besides the point.
It's stupid in the context of acting like that actually means something.
In this context, yes.
It makes sense to tax people. Now, we can argue about the morality of the income tax versus sales tax versus land tax or whatever.
It's all theft.
We can argue about that. But it makes sense to tax people like Lexie because...
Don't tax me.
Lexie is a beneficiary of the fact Canada exists.
Okay. Now, pushback.
The corporation isn't. The corporation doesn't exist.
Pushback.
It's not a person.
However.
No.
Yes. That's not entirely true, though.
Oh.
The corporation does benefit from the fact that the country exists because it operates within the country. And it benefits from the fact that the country's not being invaded or that it's functioning and that the people are safe to be consumers and to work in the company.
Yes and no, because there is a distinction here that I'm trying to make.
Why are you making me argue in favor of taxes?
Sometimes you gotta steelman it.
I'm a logical fiend, and I argue every side of every argument. Chris has experienced this. Like, let it never be said that I am not, like, logically honest or whatever, like, in my arguments. I will argue every side of every argument.
So, to try to better explain my point here. So, how do I want to phrase this? The taxes on a person are giving that person things. Yes, you can say a corporation is getting things, but then you could say we should tax charities, we should tax religions, we should tax government bodies. So, the bureaucracy benefits from Canada existing. The thing is, at the end of the day, it's the person. Mm-hmm. The people in the corporation are the ones doing something. A corporation is an artifact of complexity of law. At the end of the day, if we didn't have corporation and it was just Bob made cars by himself by hand, it'd be massively inefficient. We'd have much fewer cars. But Bob could still do that, and it would make sense to tax Bob. The corporation is just an artifact of mess of vertical integration and economies of scale. It is a legal artifact, not an actual thing to think about. Like, yes, Volkswagen exists as a legal entity, but it does not make sense to think about Volkswagen as a philosophical entity.
So, you're kind of looping back on yourself here, though, because if Volkswagen is a guy, if it makes sense to tax him...
Yeah, you're taxing his income then. You're not taxing Volkswagen's income.
Yeah, so, but why? Why does that make sense? Just because he's a guy and Volkswagen's not a guy.
He's benefiting from society, whereas the corporation of Volkswagen is actually just a bunch of individual people.
Now, here, let me throw another spanner.
So, like, let me finish.
Okay.
We are already taxing everyone in Volkswagen. Every single person composed of... Because Volkswagen doesn't exist, philosophically. Mm-hmm. You have one, like... let's use a better example. Let's say... what's a company that exists that I actually know the people in workforces? My buddy Alex works at a small company. I'm not going to name names, but...
It's a software company.
It's a software company. It has 16 employees. Mm-hmm. The company, we'll call it Company A, doesn't exist philosophically. Mm-hmm. It is just an artifact of these 16 software developers working together to make more money. Mm-hmm. We already tax all 16 of these people.
Oh, I see what you're getting at. You're saying we're taxing people twice.
Yes.
Now, I think what people would argue is that not all of the money that goes into the company is trickling into people's income. So not all of that money is actually being taxed twice.
It is, though. Think about it, right? What does the Company A do? It pays its employees. Mm-hmm. In other words, they get income. It does capital expenditures, so it buys things from other companies, and that money gets paid to their employees. Mm-hmm. Or it saves money for a rainy day.
You know, it reinvests into the company.
That's capital expenditures.
R&D, lots of other things.
Yeah. At the end of the day,
it lends money.
At the end of the day, all of this money is used. Corporations don't sit on piles of money.
It gets used, but does it get used into somebody's pocket eventually?
It has to. Otherwise, it's just sitting in a bank vault.
I don't know. I think there's some money that's perpetually in circulation without going into the pocket of an individual person and being taxed as individual income. I think there's a dollar out there that's never been in an individual's pocket.
From a corporation perspective, it can either pay a dividend, and it loses money that way, buy a product, and now other company has it.
Mm-hmm. Which then can do all these other things.
Yeah, that can do all the stuff that I'm already listing. Pay a salary. Mm-hmm. Pay a benefit. Those are the only things it can do.
There's a lot of other things it can do.
What else can it do? That's not one of those things. That doesn't.
they lend money. They, like you said, they buy capital. They reinvest. They do research. They invest.
Let's look at one of these. Let's look at one of these in particular. Do research. What happens when you do research?
I get where you're going. Listen, I'm on your side. I'm on your side. I think it's BS that things get taxed multiple times too, but I think that you're coming at it from a strange direction.
No, I'm coming at it from a sophisticated, intellectual direction.
This is your problem.
You guys haven't read some of the papers I wrote in uni?
Oh my god. I read them because I edited them.
I have a penchant for having complicated, high-level arguments about things.
And I have a penchant for telling him to use commas.
She's not wrong.
I edited every single paper this guy wrote.
She's a great editor, by the way. If you ever could contract her services, she'll charge you probably 2 legs.
Yeah, probably. I could do that.
You could make money.
I could charge people to edit their papers.
Probably wouldn't make that much, though, for the effort.
I could charge $50 for an essay.
Yeah, but how much hours does this take to make an essay?
Oh, not that long. That's why you said yes to Christopher.
Because I'm a wonderful, powerful, strong guy.
If you can't bicker with your spouse, then you shouldn't be marrying them. We argue like this basically
also,
every
you
single
didn't
day.
see. I mean, actually, I put the picture, so you probably did, but
You saw the ring.
That's a pretty good ring.
It's a really good ring. I've been staring at it like this whole time.
It's very sparkly.
There's a lot of reasons.
My recommendation, since pretty much all my audience are men, if you're looking for something, I recommend sparkly for a girl. They really like sparkly rings, according to Lexie.
Very important. My mother, who's been married for over 30 years, still looks at her ring in the car in the sun.
Oh, that's cute.
When it sparkles, yeah.
So, don't undersell the sparkly.
Don't cheap out on the ring, dude. It means something. It's very important.
You should get engaged. It's based.
You should get engaged. It's based. Get married, too. Don't just be engaged forever. That's cringe.
Yes.
Get engaged, but be engaged for...
like a reasonable length of time.
like a year.
That's a reasonable length of time.
Yeah. A year honestly feels like a crunch, but we'll do it.
Compared to the rest of our dating, yeah.
Don't date for 8 years. That was kind of cringe.
That was cringe.
But we got there. I know you both will have a great life together and a lot of great memories. Aw, thank you, Rocco. That's sweet. And yeah, we pay a lot too much tax, and I wish it was nothing.
Sadly, will never be nothing.
I'm mostly just pissed that money gets taxed like 15 times.
Now, if you give me the total power to do the entire tax system again, I would remove all but 2 taxes.
Here's what you want.
Sales and land value.
Want to hear something fucked up? So the Canadian government, when they're crafting tax policy, and if this doesn't tell you what the Canadian government thinks of you and your money, I don't know what will. When they talk about not taxing you or giving you like a tax benefit or something, they're called tax expenditures. Because they consider money that they are not collecting from you to be money that they are spending. Because according to the Canadian government, your money actually belongs to them, and allowing you to keep it is them spending it on you. Isn't that fucked up? This is a real thing. They are called tax expenditures. Every tax break program, they are called tax expenditures. Are you angry? Because I am. This is fucked. It's messed up, man. I was so mad when I learned that. Can you believe that? I hate it. Chris, do you agree with me on tax ideas? What are your tax ideas?
Let me read back to the chat here. I think you mentioned them. I am...
I'm for taxes. Don't agree. Disagree. I am not for taxes. I'm not a libertarian, but I'm a libertarian when on taxes.
So
people act like taxes have always had to be a thing, and it really didn't need to be. Do you know when the income tax happened? Fun fact, pop quiz chat. Income tax dates back to when? Ding, 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 World War I. It was like 3%, and it was a interim emergency war measure, and then it became permanent, and now it's like 5% on a $50,000 per year income in Canada.
She's a bit tipsy. Don't worry.
Leave me alone. That's correct, Rocco. Good job.
As I was touching on earlier, I think there's really two taxes that make the most sense. I'm not counting user fees because those aren't taxes per se. Like getting a driver's license fee isn't the same thing as a tax. Because you're actually directly getting a service for the thing you spent on.
Paying for something is not a tax. That's cringe and leftist of you to say. It's like when they say paying for tampons is a tax on women. That's fucking stupid.
But the two taxes I do really support. Sales tax, because it's obvious and everyone sees it. And I don't think it should be baked into the price tag. I think you should look at it and be like, that costs 15% more.
I don't think it should be based in the baked into the price tag either, because I think you should be very aware that it's an additional thing that the government is adding on.
I think they should break
and that
out
the company is not putting that in there. Because prices. I've been watching Seamus videos, Foundation for Economic Education videos, and prices are signaling devices, and they tell you the value of something. And factoring in the sales tax is an artificial signal as to the value of something. It makes it look like it's worth more than it is because you're factoring in an artificial inflation because of the sales tax. So I do not think that you should roll the sales tax into the price. Like, just fucking add. It's not that hard.
The other...
I'm fine. He looks concerned. I'm having a great time.
The other...
Do you think it's a good idea to marry Lex when she acts this way after one drink an hour? He's having a great time. You should see him. He thinks this is great.
So I like sales tax because they're obvious. You can't hide them. And as long as you only put sales tax on the right things, like I don't think you should have sales tax on food. I don't think you should have a sales tax on property. Stuff like that. But if you have the sales tax...
Not always. Actually. So, fun fact. I just took a real estate course.
You just keep interrupting me.
Too bad.
I can't finish it.
Well, there's not a sales tax on property.
I'm not saying there is.
Okay.
I'm saying as long as you don't have that.
Yeah. Used residential properties usually will not have sales tax. A commercial property will. A newly built home probably will. Because...
You're paying for the newly built home.
Well, it's because it's someone else's business to sell newly built homes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But... the point I'm trying to get at...
Burning you both tonight for getting married? What? I hope not.
The point I was trying to make is I like sales tax because you can see them. Like, you feel them. You can ensure that they're only on non-core necessities. So it's, you pay as much tax as you want to pay.
Yeah, you can control them. That's nice.
You can control them. And you can't evade them. You can avoid them, but you can't evade them.
Yeah, there's no finagling you can do.
You can't do financial wizardry to avoid paying the sales tax.
Oh, he's burning us with his jokes.
The other tax I like is a land value tax. Not to be confused with the property tax. Property taxes is dumb. Land value taxes, though, they make a lot of sense because you're charging taxes based on how much the land is worth. And the reason why that makes sense is you can't make land. Land pre-exists you.
If you can believe it, you can't make land.
Land is not really a thing you own per se. Private property ownership...
that's a common law concept right there. Nice. Very nice.
Private property ownership of land is something we do as a society because it's objectively better. Mm-hmm. But it's not you own this dirt per se. It's you have exclusive jurisdiction to this dirt.
Look at you. You could be a property law student. Look at him go. He's doing so good. You know what we call that? We call that a fee simple property estate. We call that an estate in fee simple. It means that because the concept is, in this case, the king owns all the land, and your fee simple property interest gives you exclusive occupancy rights. Excuse me, exclusive rights in every respect to that land forever. So it's almost like you own it, but not quite.
And that makes a lot of sense. And where the land value tax comes in here is since you don't own it in the same way you can own a phone, because the phone is created through someone's labor and you are paying for that labor, so now you own this phone. Because in principle, you could make the phone from scratch.
There's no more strings attached.
There's no more strings attached. You could make the entire phone from scratch. You can't make land from scratch. So it makes sense to have a land value tax, just more like philosophically speaking, because the tax is paying for society, because you can't really have exclusive jurisdiction without society. It doesn't really make any sense. Like, yes, you can make the argument that if I have like a 12-gauge shotgun, I can just shoot everyone who comes on my land to ensure exclusive jurisdiction.
Joe Biden method. Buy a shotgun.
Get a double barrel. Blam blam.
Is that what he said?
I think so. I think he said to shoot them through the door.
God bless.
Sometimes that, man. Anyways.
I want to go out one night with you guys.
The reason...
It's so much fun. We have to put one drink in Lex when she's very happy. I'm happy. Sorry.
The reason why land value is better than property is because land value doesn't tax the things people made. If you build a house, that's going to increase the property value, but it doesn't make sense to increase the land value because the land is the same land whether or not the house is on it. The house was something built from the product of someone's labor, not from just existing. That's also why royalties on things like oil make sense. Like, it makes sense for the government to charge the royalties on the oil. The oil company didn't make the oil. It was there. They're just extracting the oil. It makes sense to pay royalties, like, philosophically speaking. Now, exact rates and stuff like that is more of a practical question, but philosophically speaking, that makes sense.
Not gonna lie, didn't know that was a thing.
That's where the entire Alberta budget gets their money from.
That's kind of neat.
Like, 45% of their budget is oil royalties.
Then what the fuck's with these corporate tax increases, Notley?
Because they're trying to... Because it's all from oil royalties, it's very bouncy.
Get your spending under control.
Well, you know, Alberta has the highest per capita spending in Canada, full stop.
Really? What are they spending it on?
Healthcare, education, other bullshit. I don't know, what does the government spend their money on?
But they've got a lot of people, so shouldn't that be lower?
No. Alberta is only as nice as it is because of oil, in every sense of the word.
I guess you get what you pay for. Fair enough. I can make more like
So, the whole summary to this is I think we should fund society entirely off of resource royalties, land value tax, and sales taxes. Everything else is philosophically unjustifiable.
Based.
Especially income tax. Income tax is completely unjustifiable.
Income tax is literally slavery, and I say that without a hint of sarcasm. I say that completely sincerely. You can quote me on that.
In the yearbook.
Yes! Legitimately.
Is there a yearbook for...
The government's like, 35% of your workday is mine. Like, literally, like, what is it? 8-hour workday, so like 2.5 hours of your day.
I wonder how much I pay in taxes.
I'm sure you know.
I don't have to calculate it, though. I haven't done that yet.
Oh, well. Like, literally 2.5 hours of my day I do for free.
Yeah.
That's fucked up. That's fucked up. Come on. Like, I will just give me toll roads. Give me toll everything. I'll just pay for it. It's also philosophically weird because you pay for a lot of shit you don't use. Also, like, for example, so Chris works from home.
Half the time.
I do not. All the time. I use the roads much more than he does. So I would end up, if every road was a toll road, paying a lot more tolls than he pays, and that would be perfectly fair because I use a lot more road than he does.
Objectively true. She also drives more.
Yeah, I drive a lot more.
I only drive as of tomorrow, I'm going to drive much further. But prior to tomorrow, I drive only 15 minutes if I'm going to the office.
Yeah, the carbon tax is a tax on me.
But as of Tuesday, I'm going to be driving...
a lot longer.
50 minutes. Small town life, though.
How many times do you think Lex would say, also Chris?
Don't follow.
I'm confused. Are you drinking, Rocco? Maybe you should be.
Do we drunk stream sometime?
We kind of are. I am.
Well, you're sort of.
I'm having a good time. I feel good.
Get some other lads, and
No.
we'll get. Okay. Here's what we do. The next Canadian election.
Mm-hmm.
We get some other people in. We do for the debates. Whenever someone interrupts someone, we take a shot, and then we see who passes out last.
Oh God. Oh, literally the word also. I see. I repeat myself. It is true. I'll take the jokes. But yes. No, for real though. I will take toll everything.
What about?
There's nothing wrong with paying for what you use. The only argument against that is if you're just freeloading off of other people's taxes, and that's lame.
What about? Hear me out. Toll schools. Whenever you enter the school, you have to pay, irrespective if you're using it or not. You just walk into the school, $10.
You know what a union due is?
Yes.
Basically that.
Union due for going into school. They tax the kids to go to school. Timmy, if you don't give me $5, you're not learning today.
I don't know if you did like Cub Scouts or anything when you were a kid or whatever they call it here, but like all that you have to pay dues. You have to bring like a loony with you to every meeting or something like that.
That's weird.
It's a
like
thing.
a loony.
That's how they funded it.
That makes sense, but who has loonies?
It was like 2005.
2005 was an age ago.
Yeah.
Like I say that unironically, right? Like, can you fathom how much different the world is from 2005?
It was probably better back then, to be honest. Although fashion was worse and music was bad. Actually, no. Some music was better.
But think about how good the housing prices were.
Everything was probably better. Like the economy was probably a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
Just prior to 2008.
2008 ruined a lot. But that's a topic for another time. And I know I said to do that. I already said I was going to do that, but that's future me problems.
You going to do a video on the 2008 recession?
One day.
What about the 2019 recession?
Look, I'm doing the good old YouTube thing where I say I'm going to make a video.
Yes. Are we old? Jesus, I am old. I was 8 years old in 2005. Chris would have been 8 years old in 2005. I was 7 in 2005.
Depends on what part of 2005.
Yeah, Chris and I are extremely close in age. We're the same age most of the year. No. About half of the year. We're like 6 months apart, are we?
Yeah, about 6.
So we would have been like 7 or 8 in 2005. Maybe we are old. I don't know. His sister's kids are tall now, so maybe we are old.
You can tell kids are very different from a very young age, for the record.
Oh, it's really cute.
Also, Rona really hurt kids' development. Just putting it out there.
It really did. Fortunately, my nephews are very young, so...
Yeah, they were, like, born during Rona.
It didn't really affect them significantly. Wow, legit hack source, you're young. You're a 2000 child.
Oh, he's the same age as Dylan.
Rocco, don't remind me on all the videos I promised I'd make one day.
The FDR?
Actually, you should remind me, but, also don't remind me.
FDR?
Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
Oh, the actual president. Okay.
But what was I saying? I lost my train of thought.
Children.
Yes. Fortunately, my nephews are young enough, actually, that they didn't really... They were, 1 and 0 and 2 during COVID, so they didn't really lose much. But children who are 5, 6, 7, 8 lost so much from COVID.
Even if they were this age, if Rona was right now...
It would have really hurt them.
Oh my gosh, I don't even want to think about it. 4 years is a big difference when it's 25 versus 21. It's a bigger difference when it's 19 versus 15. I don't know, as you get older,
It's like is it a logarithmic scale where like
Kind of, yeah. Like
the older you get, the less difference it makes?
8-year-old versus 4-year-old, huge difference.
Yeah. 85-year-old versus 81-year-old, not really anything.
Yeah.
I graduated high school pre-Rona, though. That's good. I graduated university pre-Rona. Nice.
It's actually kind of funny, just as an anecdotal note, because I have the macro data, not the individual people. But in the poll I'm doing right now, which, by the way, it's on... I've been linking it in all my videos. You should do that poll.
Do the poll.
Do the poll. It's anonymous. You're not going to lose anything.
Hashtag do the poll.
Do the poll. But one thing I find really interesting about this poll is the correlation between the people who are... Like, when you think about it, right? When you look at, like, when you think about, like, voters who have a high school education, you're like, oh, really old people before they, like, went to trade schools and universities and stuff, right? Like, people in their, like, 70s and 80s.
But it's also, like, 21-year-olds.
Yeah, but it's also 21-year-olds. It's really young people and really old people.
Yeah, it's, like, 19-year-olds and 85-year-olds.
Really funny. The other thing I find really funny on just a macro note, I think if I have a big enough sample, I'm going to do like a more detailed thing about this video of this poll. But, what was I going to say? Some samples in it are much more diverse than others. Like, obviously, this is going to be not a very diverse sample because of what I'm currently sampling right now. But most people answering the poll vote conservative. Not surprising. But on the flip side...
Where's the one lib? We have a lib. Someone's a lib.
There's no... I currently have no liberal voters in my sample.
Where's the lib? We welcomed him.
We need you in the poll. Get the
lib.
lefties.
Welcome, lib.
Share it to your friends, by the way. Just,
Yeah.
like, unironically, just give it to your friends and be like, fill this out.
I gave it to my coworkers.
But...
And my brother.
One of the interesting things about this, right, is... like, income is extremely diverse. Province, extremely diverse. Like, they almost fit... They rapidly fit the curve of what the census data is. But things like voting preference, not at all, which makes sense. But also age, no. Doesn't remotely track. And a bunch of these other ones, too, like education level, doesn't track at all. It's interesting. I have way too many high school educated and university educated viewers compared to compared to Canada as a whole.
Hashtag welcome lib.
Which is probably because it's a lot of these people, high school educated voters, are people who graduated high school but are still doing their trade or university or something.
But that's interesting that the income is all over the place because that's always the first thing that people slam conservatives about being is like,
It's very
rich people or whatever, but that's so not the case.
It's very spread out. The other thing that actually surprised me really hard about this response so far, my sample's not fully done, fully revealed yet, but one of the questions I had in my poll is I'm trying to bring it up. I had a bunch of questions about rating the political parties in Canada. And overwhelmingly, there's consensus. I didn't expect this much consensus. People are like, there's bell curves on all of them. Like, it tracks really well.
So does that mean that the parties are putting out a fairly consistent
voters
like persona?
Yeah, voters can understand what the parties are. The only two exceptions are the People's Party, where people don't really know how socially conservative it is, and the Bloc. Literally no one understands. Like, look at this.
Nobody knows what the Bloc is doing.
No one knows what the Bloc is.
I have no idea what the Bloc is doing.
When I have a bigger sample and I'm done the poll, I'll bring out some of this stuff and I'll probably do a full video on this. But I want a bigger sample. / I'm too busy right now anyways to really do the proper justice to this. But it's really surprising. And it's following a bell curve before I even do weighting to make it match census data, which should actually make it more of a bell curve, which is interesting. You would expect it to be a bell curve, by the way. That is the expected shape of these graphs, if the party has a coherent picture.
Now,
the sample size right now is a bit small. It's only 31. But I do have some methods to increase the sample size. If it's too low by the time of the end of the month, I might just dump it on places like Reddit. I'm waiting to do that because...
Reddit will get your diversity up.
I'm waiting for that because I want to see what my audience looks like before I start throwing random people in it as like an aggregate. if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
But also, share it to your friends. Share it to random coworkers. Just throw USB sticks on the playground so the kids can bring it to their parents.
Share it with your grandmother. How many people did that poll? 32?
31 so far.
31. One question you asked was a trick question and not the fiscal policy. Can't remember which one. Were there any trick questions?
I don't.
Some of them you were intended to guess if you didn't know.
Yes, there was ones I were intended to guess. Like,
Thank you, Hacksource. Please share.
Like if you, for example, like, I can't think of one, but like, if you don't know the correct answer to some of the questions, that was fine. Yeah, I don't think kids know what USB is either. The other thing that I find really funny, this is kind of fitting with my audience, being mostly right-wing, but the degree is surprising. Currently, 77%, 60%, I did the math wrong, of my sample wants an abortion ban before or at 6 weeks or earlier.
Was that the one where I had to tell you that you needed to add a number? Goodness, sorry. Is that the one? Is that the question that needed a never option, or is that a different question?
That was that one.
Okay.
The other?
Yeah, initially when he was making this poll, his abortion question didn't have an option for never, no exceptions. And I was like, bruh, this does not represent me.
The other one that I find really fascinating is the one I had on, at least so far with my sample, was the sub question I have on, which one was it? Oh, it was this one. It was sexual liberation a good thing. I was expecting this to be more even, but it's a solid 65% said no.
Based.
And that surprised me. I was expecting it to be more 50-50.
Based.
Now, maybe if I actually had more libs in the sample, that would be 50-50, but still.
I feel like a lot of people don't know what the sexual liberation is.
Yeah, but I feel like a lot of left-wingers would...
You should have asked, was women's rights a good thing?
Well, that's too broad, though.
No, based.
That's too broad, though, because some make sense, right? Like...
I really like the way that Seamus put this, that women's rights was the PR term that they landed on. The sexual revolution landed on.
Yeah. The other one I really enjoy, too, actually, is there are people who voted for the publicly run, privately financed education, which I've never heard anyone in my life ever argue for.
Potentially the worst of all options.
And it's like, that's surprising. If it was one person, misclick perhaps. 3?
I don't even know how that works, because...
I don't know how that works either. I can't even describe...
If it's publicly run, how can it be privately funded? Publicly run means it has to come from tax money.
No. That means it's run by the government.
Yeah, but...
So the teachers are employees of the government, but you pay to go to school?
But you're paying the government.
Yeah.
So I don't think that... I think that that's an impossible combination.
I think so, too.
I don't think that's a thing, but I like that it's there. I like that somebody wants it. The paradox. They just don't want schools.
Oh, that was a fun one.
Because here's my theory, right? If anything's privately funded, it's no longer publicly run because you get a private profit incentive, which takes away the whole publicly run part.
Well, it's still owned and run by the government, though. Like they're government employees.
I really can't delineate this in my head.
Yeah,
I don't think this is a thing.
No, I've never heard a single person ever argue for this system. I just put it in there to see.
This would be like your entire government would have to be based on like voluntary taxes. In which case, that's not really a government, in my opinion. That's just like a company.
The libertarian wet dream.
Just don't pay teachers. Boom, problem fixed. No teacher at all. You can't have shortages. Based. Just homeschool forehead.
It's just... Nah, I figured it out. It's publicly run by the church. It's privately financed because the church financed.
Maybe it's just run in public.
It's
so
literally just nuns teaching people.
Maybe it's just anyone can see it, like it's in public.
They don't have walls.
It's just glass so that the teachers can't molest the children.
Oh god, it's just a greenhouse.
Maybe that is a good idea.
I would definitely reduce the child molestation.
With the nuns back in, everyone gets the belt. We need more belt in this world. I know some children that really should have gotten hit more. Don't you? I say this with a shred of irony.
It's just funny to hear someone say it.
Have you ever met someone thinking, like, you should have been hit more as a child?
Let's see. Where are we?
Oh, it's late. We have to be up
it's getting
really
late.
early.
Yeah, so just bring bullying back. So
Chris has strong opinions on this.
Do we want to get into it or leave it for future time?
Chris likes violence in children. That's all we really need to say.
No, there's more.
He's a strong supporter of violent children.
Okay, I need to put my 2 cents now because I can't leave on that. So, specifically, zero tolerance policy is literally evil.
I need you guys to know that I hear about this probably once a week.
Does it happen?
For no reason. It never comes up organically. It's never in the news. This just comes up. He makes it a topic. I hear about this once a week. Continue.
Anyways, what was that? So, zero tolerance is literally evil. The problem with it, and this is why it's so bad, is it treats victims as culpable as perpetrators. You are punishing the victim for defending themselves from a bully. That is evil.
This is how we get tankies.
It's worse than that. There's no reasonable or honest justification for it. What it ends up being is the victim gets bullied, and nothing happens because if you don't fight back, no one will know what happened. The teachers won't notice, the principal won't notice, the other students won't notice. But as soon as you fight back, it becomes a fight, it becomes a big deal, everyone finds out, and you get in trouble. So what it actually means is zero tolerance doesn't stop fighting. It stops self-defense. You are punishing people for self-defense, and you are not punishing people for bullying.
It's true. He's not wrong.
And this is really extremely bad for young boys. Because young boys don't interact the way young girls do. And our schools are set up for young girls and not young boys. 2 boys who will get into a disagreement will have a physical altercation. Always. They do that until they have a prefrontal cortex. That's how boys interact. Male social hierarchies are based off of the perceived ability to do violence.
See, he loves child violence.
If you stop young boys from doing this, they don't understand how to organize society. They don't understand how they organize socially. And boys can't really hurt each other. Yes, I don't think you should intervene if one kid is actually getting injured of serious note.
But unless you're breaking bones or knocking teeth out, you're gonna be fine.
Yeah, most situations is you're pushing, you're shoving, maybe some weak punches because they're
You
boys.
get a black eye or a bloody nose, you'll be okay.
And the thing that's really important to note here too with young boys is usually if you let the fight happen organically, afterwards they'll be friends. Once you've drawn the line in the sand, an example of this, my cousin when he was in elementary school, some other kid came up and tried to steal his snack at recess. So he punched the kid. They go to the office and they get all in trouble. And everyone's like, oh, they're enemies. The next day they were playing in a sandbox together because they drew a line and my cousin showed that this is what it is. And then they became friends because that's how young boys make friends. They have a physical challenge, see where the person is, and then they go from there.
Boys are so violent.
Yes.
Jordan Peterson talks about this. There is no more violent creature on the planet than like a male toddler. Mm-hmm. Your nephews, if they were 200 pounds, would be like a danger to society. The only reason that it's not a problem is because they're so small they can't do anything, and that's probably the way it's designed.
Yes.
Because, like, there is no creature more violent than, like, a 4-year-old boy or, like, a 3-year-old boy. Because they are just fucking crazy, and it's hilarious.
Like, the other day, it was my mom's birthday, so my sister and my nephews were over. They were wrestling on the couch beside me and Lexie here.
It was really cute.
And if I was wrestling with my dad like that, I would have seriously injured him.
They were, like, going for it.
They were going for it. But they are 3 and 4. So it was completely...
They're like 30 pounds.
It was completely irrelevant to them. They were completely unharmed.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. They could do anything they wanted. The only danger is the fingernails.
Mm-hmm. Fingernails and biting are the only 2 things you have to watch.
Yeah, apparently Jacob bites.
Well, a lot of young boys bite because it's a natural thing to do.
That's so funny.
And that's the only thing at the police. When you're talking with young boys, the only thing at the police is biting. Because that's actually dangerous.
Yeah,
nothing else really matters. Eye gouge and stuff like that, but there's not too much.
Telling me is that you're betting on which one was going to win. Oh, we should have been.
It should have been. That would have been funny.
I think Hunter would win, though, because he's got, like, 6 inches on Jake, and he's a year older.
Yeah, a year at that age is a lot.
He's, like, 3/4 older.
Yes.
He's, like, 25% older.
There's 25% more years.
That's a big difference.
But to summarize here, boys fight each other. That's not actually a bad thing. As long as no one is getting permanent injuries or the risk of that. If it's just an altercation, it's not a big deal. You shouldn't police that.
It's so interesting because girls don't do that. Like,
no, but
toddlers at that age, girls would never be doing that.
But you know how girls' social hierarchies work? It's all through social violence.
Yes. Which is honestly probably much more damaging.
And the thing is, we know this for ages. I remember going in school and being told, given anti-bullying class or whatever in elementary, and be like, boys bully each other through violence, girls through gossip and attacking characters and defamation and stuff.
Do you think they still teach it that way?
I hope so.
I wonder. Because it's very true, but, like, would they have to be weird and gender neutral about it now? Because that would make no sense.
Probably would be. Boys don't.
Hello to you tomorrow when you listen to this tomorrow. Hi, Tanker Tomorrow.
Boys don't gossip. They don't character assassinate each other, really. Not a thing. Not the same way girls do it. Oh, I wasn't looking in the chat. Give me a second, Rocco.
Based bullying. Were you the bully? Guys go out back, fight it out, and are friends after. Yeah, basically.
Yeah, that's what it is. I have another example myself.
My brother and I fought when we were kids. But like very young kids.
One of my closest friends and his brother would completely, fully fight and go to the part that, like, they've broken each other's limbs before.
Really?
Hardcore fight.
That's funny.
They are the closest siblings I know.
Yeah, they're cute.
Like, a lot of people, especially I think left-wingers and women, who are mostly what run schools, don't understand how men work at all. Like, men aren't very complicated, but they're not women.
No, they're very much not.
They're very different. And if you don't act and respect this difference, you are going to cause a lot of social harm to this. And there's a big problem to this. Like, the reason why I'm so against things like zero tolerance policies isn't because it demasculates boys, which it does. It isn't because it punishes the victim, which it does. It teaches boys to act like vindictive girls.
Yeah, but you're, like, way more dangerous than that.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, that's how school shooters are born.
Yes, that's exactly how school shooters are born. That's how you get antisocial personality disorders forming. You don't understand how social hierarchies work.
From Chris the psychologist.
Among men. I read all these papers.
He's basically Jordan Peterson Jr.
I read the papers. I'm not saying I'm a psychologist, but I read stuff. I watch stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But, like,
I know things.
You don't need a degree to be able to assess papers, right?
Your degree would probably hurt your ability to do that.
probably. But boys need to be able to assess violence. And to assess violence, you need to know what you are capable of. And you can't know what you're capable of unless you do some.
Do violence.
Well, so boys need to have fights when they are young, when it doesn't matter. So then when they're older, they know, oh, this is what fights are like. It's actually kind of the same thing with elephants, right? If you want to tame an elephant, you capture it when it's really young, you tie it with a rope at that young age. It can't escape. And when it's a full-grown elephant, it thinks it can't break the rope.
Actually, there's an interesting thing that happens in dogs. So, I have a dog. His name is Ace. He's adorable. He's, like, 1, so he's still a puppy, even though he's really big. And there's this thing that dogs learn when they grow up with their litter mates, and that you still have to continue to teach them once you get them, called bite inhibition. So, dogs will naturally, they use their mouths for everything, obviously. And when they're puppies, they have very, very sharp teeth. And the reason that they have very, very sharp teeth, there's literally no reason a puppy needs sharp teeth. The only reason that they have the very sharp teeth is because they do not need to bite you very hard before it really hurts. Like, they have very sharp teeth. So they bite their sibling fairly gently, and their sibling screams and won't play with them anymore. And they learn, oh, okay, that's too hard to bite, and no one will play with me. And what it does is, because a puppy's first instinct when they bite, even, like, if they're not biting with aggression, they're just biting to play, their first instinct is to bite down with all the force they have. And what they have to learn is that they don't have to use all their force, they can be gentle. And they have those sharp little teeth because it won't take very much force before it's too much and it hurts. And then no one will play with them, and so they learn to be more gentle. If they started out with duller teeth, they'd have to bite a lot harder for it to hurt. And so now, and you have to let your puppies bite you and just let them know when they're biting too hard. And eventually you basically just scream like a baby if they even touch you with their teeth so that they learn not to bite people at all. And now you can just stick your hand in his mouth and do, like, he'll mouth you and all that, but it's like, it's barely anything. And he's a golden retriever, so they're known to have really gentle mouths anyway. But the point being, they know through biting people and seeing that they can hurt people to be gentle, and it's kind of the same concept.
Yeah, it's very similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I took a deep breath. It's fine. That's all I had to say. I think bite inhibition is very interesting, and I own a dog. That dog will always be a puppy, even when he's 10 years old. Yeah, that's true, but he actually really is a puppy.
Yeah, to summarize, boys need to know how strong they are and how much they can actually hurt somebody. They need to understand that other people are a threat, are to be respected, not a threat, and have the capacity to defend themselves, or else you get the other kind of thing, because if you don't ever defend yourself from the bully also gets this warped view of society where they can just bully people.
And that'll get them shot.
And that will get them shot, to be honest. But, so it's a disservice to everybody. But more importantly, it teaches respect. It teaches boys how to understand social hierarchies, how to assess social hierarchies, and to defend themselves, to stand up for themselves. But zero tolerance destroys all of that. You can't have it. So therefore, ban zero tolerance.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
That is my TED Talk. You'll be charged $10,000 per second.
Is Lexie blackout drunk now that she finished the other half of her vodka soda? No, I feel great. I'm doing just peachy.
Should have got a peach one.
I have a lemon lime blue lobster.
Any good?
Tastes like carbonated water.
That doesn't sound appealing.
It's like a Nova Scotian White Claw is what it is.
Yes, gym class should have wrestling.
Why doesn't it?
To be honest,
just like have something else for the girls to do.
That's probably what it is. They probably don't want to make two separate things.
Speaking of which, I think, so we were discussing this about men's versus women's sports and how women's sports get like a fraction of the viewership men do because they're just the inferior version of that sport.
Mm-hmm.
And I was advocating that I think that instead of just making like the women's league of a sport, they should do what tennis did and actually change the rules of the sport to suit women. Because women's tennis gets, I don't know if it's a comparable viewership to men's tennis, but people are very aware of women's tennis. Like it has a following for sure. Nobody knows what women's soccer, aside from lawsuits, like nobody knows what like women's baseball is doing. Do you know what women's baseball is up to? No.
To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if you told me it didn't exist.
It might not. Like nobody knows what the women's anything is up to. What's women's hockey up to? I don't know.
I agree on this. Like you're not going to have women's sports be as watched, as much viewership as men's sports if they're the same sport, but men are just better because they're physically superior.
Yeah, it's just worse athletes playing the same sport. But if you make sports or change the rules so that women can uniquely excel,
or at least it makes the game different so there's a reason to watch it over the men's version.
Yeah, you're not just watching a worse men's game.
Like, an example, this is tennis. I like tennis quite a bit, but it's not, I'm not the biggest tennis fan in the world. But I like tennis. Men's tennis is more of an endurance game. Female tennis is a punchier, shorter game. There's more details to that, but that's a very big difference. And it makes watching them different, because the strategy and tactics you're using as a player is different.
Yeah, imagine women are different. So, like, if they came up with whole new sports that are made to tailor to women's strengths.
They don't even have to make whole new sports, like pictures.
But they could.
They could. But like picture something like hockey. You know what you could do in hockey? You could have it like 10-minute periods, but there's 4 periods or 5 periods or something like that.
How long is a period now?
20.
Is it?
It would be very similar. If you guys want a Discord, you gotta get me to 1,000 subscribers. That's
Share the videos.
Share the videos. Get it.
Do a poll.
Go to your friends. Be like, subscribe to this guy. And be like, who's this guy? Doesn't matter. Just
doesn't
subscribe.
matter. Hit the subscribe button. Mute him. Never watch him again.
Yeah.
It's fine.
If I get 1,000, I'll make a Discord.
Yeah, Discord. But like you could tailor the rules so it's different. You could make a whole new fucking sport. I don't care. Make it different and make it so that it's doing a disservice to female athletes, because you're just giving them. You're basically just saying. What am I trying to say here? It's like you're giving them second best, basically.
Yeah.
Like you're just like, here's what the boys like left for you.
Or like a really good example of this is track and field. Like the biggest appeal of sprinting as a sport for spectators, like who's the fastest person? The woman's not going to be the fastest person, so there's much less appeal to watching it.
Like, you know what is cool to watch? Women's figure skating.
Yeah. Men you can have men's figure skating, but it's not the same at all as women's figure skating.
Also, men's and women's gymnastics are completely different sports.
Yeah, they're completely different sports. And my understanding is they're both fairly equal viewership.
They're very interesting. Well, it's a completely different ballgame.
It's a different game. You're not...
Men's gymnastics are like fucking aliens, but women are doing absolutely different stuff. Like, it's basically not even the same category. I think it would be cool if they made up a new sport for women, or like a couple of new sports.
What's something that women are really good at?
I don't know. Figure out what women are good at. Make sports that are tailored to
Extreme. This is gonna sound bad. Extreme cooking.
Well, like for real, like think about like what women. Because the thing is, a lot of sports aren't invented really. They kind of happen organically. And maybe it's just that women don't have, like, the physical competition instinct to be inventing sports. And maybe that's fine, but at least tailor the rules a little different like tennis did.
I could totally see it right now. So picture Guy Fieri's grocery store wars.
The problem is that competitive cooking shows are already a huge genre, and they're dominated by men.
But...
There's also the fact that men are a lot more competitive in general.
No, hear me out. But the contestant also has to... wrangle like 4 kids. You'll lose. There'll be no male chefs in it, guaranteed.
Well, you know what is good is stuff like the Great British Baking Show, where they get like 6 hours to make something ridiculously complex. That is a great show. You ever want to relax for like 3 hours? Just throw on some Great British Baking Show. Oh, very good. Anyway, I think we need to cut it off.
Yes,
it is very late and we need to be up very early.
We should. So we'll be calling that here. We had just some regular podcast kind of stuff.
Super lame debate. That was like 30 minutes long.
It was an hour, technically.
I don't think it was, because we had been talking for quite a while, and I saw the time, and it was like an hour and 18 minutes.
They had a lot of commercials, actually, so maybe.
I think they had scheduled an hour, and they didn't take up the whole time.
Probably. So with that, we will be wrapping up here. If you like what you're seeing, you should subscribe, like the video, share to your friends.
Do the poll.
Follow
on Twitter at Bagel Polling.
And share to your friends, run around in circles, scream.
When's the Alberta election?
May 29th.
So that'll probably be the next stream.
That will probably be the next stream. Give or take, I don't know, probably that will be the next stream.
Yeah, that'll be the next stream.
And I see some people saying we should just do more of these live streams more. I would consider it, but I really...
It's very politically based, so like you kind of need something to be...
You need something to talk about. That's the big issue.
We'll do the by-elections?
By-elections, there's not really that much to talk about. There needs to be something there. If I had money, I could consider making like a Canadian rip of like the Tim Pool show, but I don't have money.
Yeah, that'd be kind of fun, but we can't.
So, like, you would really need to have like 4 or 5 well-informed people, or at least fairly well-informed people.
Or you could do the Whatever podcast where you get a bunch of dumb people.
Oh, yes.
But you get like 15 of them around a table that's way too small.
And then you have that like blow-up doll in the corner.
That podcast, I can't decide if I like that podcast or not, because on the one hand, like, the shit they come up with is hilarious, but on the other hand, like, the whole format is cringe.
It is what it is. But with this, we'll be calling it a do here, and I hope to see you on, I think, Sunday. We'll stay tuned if that video is delayed or not, but I'm aiming for a video on Sunday, so we'll see. But with that, have a nice night.
Have a good night. Goodbye.